And that's a touchdown for Ben Sims.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Calzada flushed out of the pocket, throws on the run, and he's got a man! Weidermeyer again, touchdown Aggie.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Prescott airs it out. Wilson, he's got it for the catch.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
No gain on second down. That's caught by Thornton and has a seam. Thornton inside the 40. It's a foot race. No chance. Touchdown Baylor.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, this Tuesday afternoon, good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Kind of a damp day around Central Texas with the rain overnight. Paul Catalina to my left, Craig Smoak to my right, Armstrong Sims, Jack McKenzie running the mothership. And so yesterday, Oklahoma had practice. Spencer Rattler wasn't there. And you started to see some smoke about the fact that, even, hey, I have a friend of mine, or I was told, or someone said that Spencer Rattler had cleaned out his locker and was no longer a part of the Oklahoma football team. He's entered the transfer portal. I didn't believe any of that. Now, would I kind of say maybe he skipped I don't know. Today, Lincoln Riley said he gave Spencer Rattler the day off. It's pretty, okay. I'm not sure that's the right thing to do, but he did. But, that's Spencer Rattler. That's Lincoln Riley's quarterback. But it's amazing to me how things just go. Now, it wasn't like I didn't see it on the crawl on whoever. But isn't that nuts how things can... And Dean Blevins, former Oklahoma quarterback, works in the media in Oklahoma City, will join us at 5 o'clock today on Oklahoma football. But it's just that's the evil of social media.
Yeah, it is. I mean, people just go and go and go. And, if you wait a second, the true story is usually better than the fake one. There's usually more meat on the bone. Although I think people expect Spencer Rattler to transfer if he's not the starter, but we haven't heard whether he's the starter yet. Not for sure. I mean, we can assume, and probably correctly so, that Caleb Williams is going to start on Saturday, but until Lincoln Riley says that, until we hear that Spencer Rattler's in the transfer portal, and it's already been 6 games, so what benefit does he have to going in now? other than staying and seeing what happens.
And Spencer Rattler was at practice today, according to Lincoln Riley as well. Yeah, if he transfers, that's fine. But you think that Caleb Williams is going to go through the rest of the year without being hurt? There's a possibility he can even get through the first quarter this weekend. You never know. You never know. Craig, would you be surprised if you saw him, if he just cleaned out his locker, he's gone?
No one surprised me because he's a kid with a massive ego that we learned about from his high school days on that Netflix show. I know my sister, for one, and I've heard this from other people who watch that show, she didn't like him. I mean, she likes Oklahoma, but she didn't like Spencer Rattler. She didn't like his ego. Now, that's something that maybe drew others to him, but ultimately what drew people to him was that 5-star ranking and the amount of arm talent that he has. But, a lot of fans have soured on him because – just the Texas games alone are enough to sour you on Spencer Rattler. Now, he's done some other good things for them. I don't think that it needs to be ignored or treated like he's never been good or, whatever the case may be because people are, in this halo of joy surrounding Caleb Williams. But, Texas didn't prepare for Caleb Williams. Texas was not expecting to see Caleb Williams. So can Caleb Williams go start snap number 1 and play for 4 quarters for the rest of the year and get the job done? A lot of people seem to think so. I don't know. We'd have to wait and actually see, it in reality. But I think Caleb Williams is going to be the starter this weekend. I think it'd be kind of crazy for him to not be the starter after what took place on Saturday in Dallas. I did find Gary Patterson's gamesmanship, how much it was gamesmanship or reality as well on the TCU side of things. That just so happens their 3 best players on the entire team offensively are all wait and see mode, according to Gary Patterson. Zach Evans, Quentin Johnston. I know Johnston's been banged up and Evans has been banged up. Max Duggan, Quentin Johnston, Zach Evans, they all list as, 50-50 or whatever, which I'm not buying for 1 second. I think it's gamesmanship, just like Riley not announcing a quarterback's gamesmanship. He doesn't have to. It's Tuesday. He doesn't have to name a quarterback today. If you had this question mark, and you had it to use to your advantage, would you just on Tuesday just randomly Caleb Williams is going to be the starter? No, why? What point is there? To satisfy fans and media? Who gives a what? All that matters is who shows up on Saturday. So I fully expect it to be Caleb Williams. As far as Rattler, cleaning out his locker, all that stuff, I mean, social media is, quite often off base. Sometimes it's on. I mean, maybe somebody actually heard something about him not being at practice. And, that leads to the rumor mill and all of that. Yeah. But, who knows what was said in Norman, Oklahoma? Who knows what he said to somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody? But bottom line is he is still on the team as of now. But I don't think that's going to last for, the remainder of his eligibility. I think even his father's comment today about, just waiting and kind of seeing, maybe we're at Oklahoma next year or maybe elsewhere. He said something along those lines. He said that they will wait and see what the NFL teams have to say, and then maybe he's back, depending on that, at either Oklahoma or wherever is what he said. So, there's something there, no doubt about it, and it could create an issue. But Lincoln Riley, I think, he's handled quarterback, races before. He's handled the quarterback position with a variety of different guys, and maybe Rattler follows Mordecai and various others out the door that transferred, but. He's also got somewhat of a good problem in a way because he's got two quarterbacks that are pretty good to choose from and one who's definitely got the hot hand coming out of Saturday.
Yeah, Patterson mentioned Duggan and Evans and Johnston. And Johnston, of course, has been injured, a young man from Temple. Duggan and Evans, it's just part of the deal. You don't have to do that if you don't have to do that. Here's one of the notes again on message boards. And I was told this by a good friend that I've gotten to know him, Weston. Sometimes I get on a message board in a thread where I'm asked questions or I may make a comment, and then there's it just takes off on tangents. And someone said, Smokey, you're yelling at us again. Or I told Weston I'm yelling at them on some things. I just try to go straight to it as far as how I feel, and that doesn't mean I do it right. But here's a thread on the site. And again, it's part of being message boards, and I get that as well. But we have a great one, and sometimes it can get a little bit out of hand. Rattler's locker cleaned out. That's the name of the thread. And then rumor on an Oklahoma campus that after missing practice yesterday, Spencer Rattler's locker was cleaned out today. Not surprising, but man, is he an unlikable dude. The unlikable part, a lot of people feel that same way, but he has not cleaned out his locker. He could do it tonight. He might do it Thursday. I don't know. But it's interesting how that just takes off. And there's nothing wrong with posting that. If you have somebody on the – yes, fine. I get it. That's what message boards are for. There's not 100% accountability for anything you post. Like Thank God there's no 100% accountability for any of my predictions because I would be in trouble. Speaking of accountability, Friday, the story with John Gruden, and the chat room's going, the text line's open. We have calls early today, Paul. Light that up, 254-339-1122. Our first guest is not until Ty Detmer at 3:45, the former Brigham Young Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. John Gruden's gone. I mean, this was a matter of a forest fire, which started out as kindlewood, and then poof, and you could feel this coming. My question, it's not whether or not, and people have different opinions on whether Gruden should still be the coach or not. That's fine. What in the hell happened here, and who did he piss off? And this is supposed to be an investigation into the Washington Football Club. Bruce Allen, obviously, he's nuked. He's gone. There might have been others involved as well. But this was supposed to investigate the team, and the Redskins have been through a lot. Or whoever have changed a lot. But no 650,000 emails. Who's the one that we can get into Daniel Snyder. Who released the emails phase 2? The NFL?
I guess so.
Why?
Yeah.
Because they were hoping the Raiders would fire him maybe Friday. Mark Davis said no. We've got a few more of these.
Yeah, I think John Gruden shouldn't be the coach anymore, just for the simple fact
That's not the question.
But no, I
want to get into who. Why would they have done that?
Yeah, because somebody didn't think he should be the coach there anymore.
Okay.
And maybe that's right. I mean, maybe the method that they used wasn't the most up and up. But if you're John Gruden, you have to go back in that locker room, which you already lost some credibility on one email. And then not only do you have a majority of your athletes that are African-American players, you do have the one openly gay player on the team. Like, how can you, even with actions and all that, regain credibility when they think that you're one way to them and then one way behind closed doors? Like that is going to be really hard for anybody to gain credibility when they think you're a phony, and that's why I also think that this is an exercise in a lot of coaches. We've seen it with Urban Meyer, who thought he was untouchable for the longest time, and sometimes coaches think that what they say doesn't matter, and that what you write or say doesn't matter, not going to catch up with you, and it's pretty stupid to put these things on a professional email.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy situation for one. I mean, to go from where the Raiders were at the start of the season and, getting off to a hot start, a new stadium, all that kind of jazz, to now John Gruden's just gone. He's just gone. It's crazy. Like, I think we go so fast we don't ever stop to just realize, like we're already on to the next thing. Like, Gruden's already in the rear view. And it's like, do you realize that he was the biggest name in NFL broadcasting just a few years ago. His return to the NFL was a massive deal for the Raiders organization. And, here they are with this brand new stadium. They're getting highlighted constantly because of that stadium, because they were winning games in the beginning. And he's just gone, like 6 weeks in. That's crazy. But, yeah.
$100 million contract, right?
Well, that's why, as much as anything, he's out. Yeah. I mean, I think it's the contract. I think it was, obviously the comments and, the whole thing about them being 10 years old and how they came out and all of that. I mean, that's separate from him getting fired. I think you can look at that as almost a separate thing, because that is interesting. Like, who did have this just waiting in the wings for the right moment to just completely, roast him out of football entirely for the time being? Who was that?
Well, it might have been based on some of the emails. It might have been the commissioner himself.
Yes, because he got called some pretty derogatory names in some of those emails. So, I mean, I don't know how much of a choice you had. Like, I understand that people say, well, it was 10 years ago, and, blah, blah, blah. How long can stuff catch up with you? Well, I mean, in this world, I think it's become very clear that at any time it can always catch up with you, no matter if you did it.
There's no statute of limitations on things.
Whether you agree with that or not is beside the point. That's just the world that we live in today. So it doesn't really matter what you think about that or cancel culture or whatever. And look, I saw some of the people trying to go to a cancel. Look at what he said and just try to realize what you're trying to defend here. Now, if you want to get into the timeline and all that, again, that's a separate deal, but that's, again, the world that we live in. So just a crazy situation. I know there's a lot of opinions about it, and I'm just, like, fascinated by the fact that the NFL is just like the mafia. I mean, they just had this hit waiting for the right moment, and Roger Goodell finally gave the sign to his capos, and then they took Gruden out.
Luigi, whoever.
Yeah,
give me a name, Paul.
Yeah. Tell me that's not mafia style. They just presented an email from 10 years ago, thusand of emails.
And on Friday, it was like, oh, and then you seem like he weathered the storm. And then
well, I think he got overshadowed by a brilliant college football weekend and then NFL Sunday, and then the work week came back.
And Urban Meyer's thrilled, by the way, about the timing. And then all of a sudden, the NFL, hey, Mark, how about these? And then, hey, John, we need to meet at the stadium or wherever they are in Vegas. And, he checked all the boxes. I'm going to say this right now. I bet everybody watching and everybody on this set has probably said some things that you regret, that you probably wish you never would have said. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably about 10 minutes ago. I don't know.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but I've never written emails like that.
No,
I've never. I don't worry about my email getting drugged through and there being the F word and all that stuff. Like he was, the lips comment. Like, yeah, I guess if you've done that, then be worried about it. But I know I haven't, so I'm not sweating it. But yeah, I mean, you do have to be mindful of. The internet the phrase is a phrase for a reason. The internet is forever. And, just because you put it in the trash bin and then delete the trash bin or, empty your trash bin on the computer, it's still there. So, yeah, I am fascinated by just the whole setup of this thing. I mean, how much of an operation it was, the timing of it, and not like an operation like like a military thing or anything, but just there had to be some calculations and some planning with these emails to just drop them like they did.
Especially like overthrowing a government.
Yeah.
Like us going to another government and slowly but surely and eventually somebody is assassinated. Yeah. I mean, isn't that the same thing? That's what happened.
Especially considering that this investigation started off having nothing to do with John Gruden at all. Other than his brother worked for the team that they were investigating.
Yeah, and his brother, he's had his issues. Bruce Allen, listen, I'm a lifelong Washington football fan. I am. I have been since I was like 5 years old. And now I want to know why they were a cluster blank dumpster fire. It's not because of John Gruden. It's because Bruce Allen was completely inept and also just an asshole. I mean, he was. I mean, and that's what it is. And so, golly, they are a mess. Now, if you're John Gruden, who did you send those emails to? Bruce Allen?
Yeah.
Who else in the Redskins or Washington football team organization got those emails and responded, laugh out loud, or, oh, come on, Johnny, or, yeah, you're right, or fired back something else to him? Are they next?
Yeah.
Does he crucify them? Does he throw them under the bus?
But I was getting to it, and we got to call Chris wants to talk about this. But the investigation is really starting at Dan Snyder and moving down. I would have thought the first thing we would have heard about this, but anything about this, would have been about Dan Snyder, because Dan Snyder's the one who's the owner of the team.
He's also the one that's a billionaire.
Yeah, well,
he also just hit on the word, and it wasn't billionaire's owner. He's an owner.
That's true too.
Who watches whose back? The owners watch each other's backs.
But there are, the Jerry Richardson in Carolina had to sell because he was walking around making lewd comments to the female employees there.
Yep.
As well.
Took a statue down.
Yeah, they did all that stuff. So it's not unprecedented for that to happen.
But these aren't Daniel Snyder's emails we're talking about. These are John Gruden's emails.
But that's why I was surprised we're not talking about
the general manager, the president.
That's, I think, because the owners are protecting each other. Yeah. I think there's a reason they've got hundreds of thousands of emails, and yet we're only seeing John Gruden's emails. Gee, wonder why that is.
Yeah.
Why are we not? You mean to tell me that there's nothing Bruce Allen said, and like you were saying, like LOL or whatever the case may be. So yeah, this was designed. This was calculated. The way it was released, the way it was presented, and it's pretty fascinating.
Badger and Bournemouth. I like Badger and Bourbon, by the way. NFL beats your girlfriend to a pulp. It's okay, but say anything not PC, you're gone. These are opinions. These are opinions on the text line. This is from Bob. I really think before I speak or type, I should speak my mind. If the woke bunch gets offended by what I say, well, that's just tough. From Kealani. The sad thing is we hold football coaches to a higher standard than elected leaders. The Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, dons brown face dozens of times like the governor of Virginia's past. There's a few of these others. There's a lot of you. This is your opinion. You have a right to an opinion. We're going to read most of them if we possibly can. The internet, according to Circulate Wealth, is undefeated. And he also was very much something he said earlier, I couldn't let it get through, about John Gruden. Paul, let's go to the phone calls. Also, keep it going. The text line's open, 254-339-1122.
All right, this is Chris in Missouri on the BetUS caller line. Chris, thanks for your call.
Good morning, guys. Hey, as far as Gruden goes, I just don't like the hypocrisy. I'm not going to defend anything he did. If you put in emails, racially charged language, you deserve to be fired. I think the thing that's upsetting people is that it's subjective, these witch hunts. Like Deshaun Watson down in Houston, he may have sexually assaulted 22 women, and he's still getting paid. He's not being suspended. The owner of the Patriots, he's getting hand jobs, at the Super Bowl. There's this whole litany of people who've done horrible things like Ray Rice and Ray. I won't even say that, but I think this is probably one of those hot button racial issues. And when the NFL just leaks these emails at one person and then doesn't say anything about everybody else, it's going to anger people. And I hope this doesn't devolve. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to defend Gruden. What he did was wrong. But when you blacklist him, because basically no one's going to hire him from this point on. He's toxic. Mm-hmm. His family, his wife and his kids, they're going to be the ones who bear the stigma from it. Anyway, just my take. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chris. Timothy, the Gruden email included a top dog at Hooters and an Outback Bowl executive. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They were also the ones involved in this, and it was another business. I don't remember the name of it.
It's wild how many people got looped into this thing so quickly. Of it's random Outback Bowl rep and, Washington ownership and Gruden and all that deal. Yeah, it's a wild story, and, I can't help but think about the former coworker of ours who is probably pretty thankful today he didn't get that John Gruden tattoo that he had been planning for so long. That might have been somewhat disastrous, Paul, don't you think? The John Gruden tattoo that our friend was planning to get at one point in time.
Yeah, you know what? His day yesterday changed, huh?
Yeah, I know. I texted him last night.
He's covering it, yeah.
I said, your show just got really boring. Don't even go. You shouldn't even do a show.
From Eric Carr, everything Gruden said in those emails was terrible, but I agree. If you're going to crucify him, release all of the email.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't really agree with the term, and I'm not fully disagreeing. I don't know about witch hunt. That just kind of doesn't strike right to me, but I understand the point of saying that. There's clearly, it's not a witch hunt in terms of, I don't know. I don't know how to quite adequately describe what's going on in my brain right now, but, clearly there was a target on him at the very least. Whether it was a witch hunt or not can be debated, but there was a target on him and some people that wanted him out of the way, and that's why I kind of referred it to the mafia-style deal. I'm with you, though, on the whole... regardless of why it happened, I am fascinated to know who decided this is the route that they were going to take with Gruden and releasing these emails. But it's wild. It's wild that we reached this point. We reached this so quickly, and just in less than a week's time, he's flying high as a Raiders head coach, and then he's out of there. Clearly has enemies, and but I'm mostly with you on the whole. Well, let's see what everybody else had to say too, because I can't imagine he's the only one that made charged remarks. Maybe he is. Maybe that's why we're only seeing his. But it is interesting that we're getting the one perspective and there's others involved.
I do, one of the things
254-339-1122.
I did wonder was, again, in that why John Gruden and why, if nobody ever knew this, would the world keep spinning? I mean, is he doing things that we don't know about, that this is that are worse than this, that at least they'll get him out. So that's why I was like, why is somebody doing this to John Gruden now? I mean, not that he didn't deserve to be fired when it's come to light or leave. I mean, I think it's just very basic, and I'll say it again.
Deserves to be fired when it came out. Yeah. But why did it all come out right now?
Why not just let the world keep spinning? There's plenty of people who we don't know things about them, and we just move on with the world. But yeah, he can't walk into that locker room and be like, listen guys, I was fooling around. You're like, were you? I mean, you seem to fool around a lot.
From Circulate Wealth, Costa Nostra, Paul? Is that Costa
Nostra?
Yeah. Mafia. We had a couple of people mention a mafia hit.
That's just what it seemed like to me. It was just so out of the blue. There was planning involved. There was multiple people involved. It's just they just made the call. We're taking them out.
Yeah, the NFL's like J. Edgar Hoover, man. They've got tapes of everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
And also calling the commissioner what you did. That didn't help.
That's the thing. That's anybody can say what they want about a witch hunt or whatever, but there really is no excusing a lot of what he said. And I understand that people will go with well, it was 10 years ago and this and that, but like in today's world, you start throwing out some of the terms that he threw out 10 years ago or not, and that's just not going to fly. And I did see, plenty of I saw black reporters, black football fans who were like, how is it that like he wasn't fired when the racial part came out, but all of a sudden the LGBTQ came out and it was like, boom, he's gone. You know what I mean? It's just so there's a lot of opinions on this whole thing, and I'm curious to hear what people think.
From Lost Aggie 66, who's having a pretty good week after this past weekend, Mr. Snyder, Washington's owner, should also be held accountable for encouraging Gruden's attitude. This is John Gruden. He never worked for Daniel Snyder. His brother did, Jay. He was the one, and I'll tell you this. Robert Griffin III, remember, had that amazing rookie year in 2012. And then, yes, he had the knee injury. Bad. It was horrible. Then they brought him back. He did not play well again. He still lasted about a decade in the NFL with a year off or two, and now he's in broadcasting. There was always the thought, and I kind of got the impression from Robert, and he eventually was able to take some accountability about this as well. But there sure were a lot of hit jobs on him when it came to the DC media.
Oh, yeah, there was.
Blasting his, his ability or lack of ability to read a defense. Okay, he won't be the first quarterback. Blasting his attitude, blasting his personality, blasting the fact that he was an egomaniac. Now, I'm not saying Robert hasn't had his ups and downs before, but that sure seemed like, in my opinion, some hit jobs on his character more than it was his football playing ability. Jay Gruden was his head coach. Am I right?
Yeah.
Who was the general manager?
Bruce Allen.
Bruce Allen. So, that.
Well, and Bruce Allen also was famous for never doing media availability.
Bruce Allen was never available to the media. He's gone, and now he's unhireable. He's done. And there's a lot of things you can maybe do. There's a lot of things you could try to get through. There's a lot of things that you cannot do. And Jay Gruden maybe checked every box there was when it comes. And I'm not saying a lot of you agree. I get it. That's why we're taking your calls and your text messages today.
All right, got 2 calls on the BetUS caller line. Before the break, let's go to Kevin in Tulsa. Thanks for your call.
Hey, yes, this is Kevin Parker. I'm a big OU football fan. What do you think about the OU football game Saturday?
It was hey, can you turn whatever you're listening to us on it down a little bit?
Yeah, your background audio was us. There you go. First of all, it was we're going to have Dean Blevins on, by the way, Kevin, on at 5 o'clock today. So if you're around, be watching that. Well, we've mentioned a lot of it on Monday. Craig, thank you. It was amazing. It was insane.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it briefly really yesterday for as big and just wild as that game was. I mean, we could have easily spent an hour on that game alone, like easily. And I would imagine radio in Norman and Austin, they didn't even have to do anything but that for 3 hours. I mean, it was an unbelievable freaking game. I was at the press box at McClain Stadium, and as the game's getting underway with Baylor and West Virginia, I had my computer screen pulled up to the OU Texas broadcast, and I turned to Paul after the end of the first quarter. It's 28-7. I said, "Welp." I was like, I just kind of said, well, that's the way it's going to be today. And I really did fear that Oklahoma was going to lose like 65-17 or, something bad. I mean, something really bad. That was the direction it was going after the end of the first quarter. But, man, you know what? Caleb Williams, that defense, Marvin Mims. Man, Marvin Mims had his best game easily on Saturday. He didn't reach the end zone until Saturday. And then you see what a huge game that he had. Just unbelievable coaching job by Lincoln Riley there at the end. The guts to go for it. With the 4th down call, Caleb Williams calling his own number, and that score really sparked them. And they had to do that, but I mean, still, that could have gotten really dicey. And instead, it busted loose, and then they were off to the races after that on that 4th down touchdown run. So I could go on and on, but just across the board, Kennedy Brooks, Marvin Mims, Caleb Williams, Lincoln Riley, unbelievable job. And you know what, Texas, they got still some things to feel good about. I mean, they nearly ran OU out of the gym on Saturday. Now, they got to figure out how to actually do that, not just do that in the first quarter. But there's a lot to like about, Texas' weapons and some of what they can do offensively. But just what an incredible game.
This will be an interesting cross-plug for the big one, too. We talk about it, Kevin, at length.
Good.
On the big one, too, which is tomorrow night.
The podcast tomorrow night after our show from Timothy, who's still on Cloud 48 from Iowa's year. David, same kind of treatment, by the way, Keyshawn Johnson when he was with the Buccaneers from John Gruden? I don't quite remember.
They didn't get along at the end.
Yeah, Keyshawn was waiting for a day like today. Keyshawn was waiting for a chance to talk about John Gruden and not have to worry about, Gruden being the head coach of anybody or whatever. Not that he probably worried about that, but I think it's safe to say that Keyshawn's now able to speak far more openly about his feelings about John Gruden, and so today he was, and today he just said that he never thought he was real. He always thought there was something fake about him. He said all you had to do was look at the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, and when they're up there on the podium getting the trophy, you got the GM right there who's like got the trophy or whatever, and Gruden basically takes it out of his hands and talks about himself or, whatever. And Keyshawn, clearly that stuck with him, like Gruden taking the trophy. And he talked about how Gruden gave them an extra edge, but that was Tony Dungy's team that won that Super Bowl, and Gruden just happened to come in and give them that little extra twist, that little extra edge that put them over the top. And he said he's thankful for that, but that
didn't last,
he just
though.
never liked him. He never liked him. He never thought he was a real person, and just he seemed to always feel that way.
But he's a media darling. And I always thought I liked him as a broadcaster, as a football coach. I could take it or leave it. Like Urban Meyer's a media darling, and he's, I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm just saying there's certain guys that are bulletproof in some cases with the media. Eric Carr, witch hunt is not the right analogy because a term witch hunt implies you are going after something that doesn't really exist. His comments very much existed, Eric. Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Thanks for clarifying the term because, that kind of didn't sit with me exactly right. So, that makes a lot more sense.
Let's see. There's a lot of Alabama. Hey, they're no longer in the top 4. Hey, I want to say this, and back to the calls. College football can survive without Alabama in the college football playoff if that case happens. Just like they can without Clemson. Just like they can without other teams. It's almost like, my God, we got to drop them just enough, but they can still win. It's okay. It's okay if they get in. I won't bet against Saban. But it's okay if college football will survive without some of those alpha dogs sometimes being a part of the semifinals.
Do you realize what fan base you're talking to right now? They don't think it's okay to miss the college
well,
football
not for
playoff.
you. If you're an Alabama fan, you want
okay.
Some of you. In fact, I gave you a story for your off the radar that's crazy.
Listen, telling Alabama that it's okay that there's no college football playoff would be like going into Motley Crue's dressing room in 1987 saying, "You guys can totally do this show without cocaine."
Yeah,
they'd be like, "No, we can't."
Speaking of what I just said,
here's the thing though is. They're still going to end up in the dadgum thing when it's all said and done. I feel like. So, I think there's a lot of joy right now, but how many times have we seen this story before where Alabama takes an early loss or an Ohio State or even a Clemson, and they still end up in the thing at the end of the year. Now, obviously, this is a much different kind of year. It's been a wild year so far, so we'll see. But I think Bama will be fine.
From Brett McMurphy on what we were just talking about Bama, then back to the calls. There's a real possibility LSU, Miami, and Southern Cal will not be bowl eligible this year. If that's the case, it will be the first time since 1960 all 3 schools did not play in a bowl game in the same year. Now, Miami wasn't all that good before the run in the 80s, and then forever, it seemed like.
I'm really curious.
And that doesn't include Florida State and Nebraska, because they're struggling to get to a bowl game as well, although the Seminoles are red hot, correct?
No, you're right. I'm really curious to see, how that holds, but I'm even more curious to see what these coaching searches are going to look like. Now, I know Manny Diaz is still at Miami and could remain there, but, Edo at LSU seems a foregone conclusion that that's going to be a coaching search that we watch, and USC we already know will be. So what others potentially open up, but those 2 alone will be pretty fascinating to watch.
All right, let's go to Tim in New York. Tim, thanks for holding. You're on the BetUS caller line.
Yeah, man, I just want to say love the show, love cracking a brew after work and just tuning in. But to the Gruden, just seeing that how the division is set up, he's not really playing his cards right there. You know what I'm saying? And the Chiefs not looking that strong after they got took down by my Bills. So it's like, it's time for them to make some changes. And he got that hefty contract, so, they had to find Santa Claus somewhere. It's getting about that time. So, yeah, I guess that was the way he was going with it, and they pulled out some old files on him. So, yeah, but love the show, man, and love tuning in.
Okay, what beer do you crack open when you start listening to us? Oh, he lost him? Okay. Thank you, man. Great. Yeah. That's a great compliment. You wind down a day with us. Thank you.
We'll ask him next time. Hopefully he calls in. And Bill's our fun team to watch. obviously still ups and downs at times, but you got a bright future, I think, there in Buffalo.
From Eric Carr, Oklahoma fan, and I don't know, Craig, Mims's father, we're talking about Marvin, the stud receiver at Oklahoma, tweeted out that changes were needed. Everyone jumped on him, but he was 100% prophetic and correct. Now, I'll say this. Last year there was a lot of quarterback, angst at Baylor. The one thing I never saw Curry Zeno ever do was tweet something out about it. And in fact, he learned probably about, hey, next thing you know, it could be your son starting and somebody else, and now he's in the transfer portal. That gets a little bit dicey when you start to see parents tweeting out about the production of other players.
I agree with you. I will say this, though. There is something that I think, Craig mentioned about, Jennifer doesn't like. I mean, he just, Spencer Rattler rubbed her the wrong way just as a television viewer. That's all she was doing. And I think sometimes there are quarterback controversies within a team where the guy who is the star or the presumed starter cannot identify with his team. He cannot meet them on their level. I think that might be Spencer Rattler's problem above everything else, in that also he's not playing well and he's not meeting the team on their level personally. And so Caleb Williams comes in, and whether or not he was the better guy long term, because Lincoln Riley probably knows that, it just takes something like that to where the team responded to Caleb Williams.
Oh, yeah.
They responded to it because they wanted to play well for him.
Yeah.
And
they were
I
excited
think that's a big deal. Yeah.
And they were also excited that somebody was actually doing their freaking job at quarterback and not performing like a bozo and getting benched for the second year in a row. Like, how fed up would you be?
Yeah.
I'd be fed up if I was Marvin Mims and, like, Rattler's just, off it. Oh, no, he's off his game today. No, dude, it's Texas. You can't be off your game. You were off your game last year. That was your mulligan. You're a Heisman Trophy favorite in the preseason. You're a Heisman Trophy contender. Not now. Then no, I would be fed up if I was those guys. Not that they're fed up with him personally, but damn well bet that they wanted to change, and that's why you saw that spark. Now, we just skipped over my man's call a second ago, like, entirely. As far as Gruden goes, I think it's a matter of that contract probably did come into play. All the power that he has, the fact that they have not, been really good right away, and it's just kind of been a slow process. I think all of those things on the Raiders side of the gate, they probably heard what the NFL had to say and, decided on their end, like, hey, this could be good for us as well in a roundabout way. Like, the PR will be ugly initially, but we're paying him a whole lot of money to just kind of be middle of the road so far, and he's got a lot of power, and he's clearly a guy that rubs people the wrong way in some cases. So they probably, to your point, saw an opportunity or a little ray of light and said,
yeah, that's possible. And
but they also had no choice based on what was put out there.
It's not like they're 0-5.
No.
Or 1-4. They're 3-2. They've beaten the Ravens, lost to the Chargers, who are really good, and then the loss to Chicago was not a good loss at all. Well, we'll come back with more of your calls. 3:45, Ty Detmer will join us. Or you want to do the calls now, Paul?
Okay, here's what we'll do. Armstrong.
The shot clock.
Yeah. 30 we're going to put the shot clock on, and then we'll go to Ty Detmer after
30-second shot clock, two calls, and then we break for Ty Detmer.
All right, John from Kansas, thanks for your call.
Hey, guys. How are y'all doing?
Great.
Doing great.
So I don't understand this, all right? So this SEC media bias is just starting to kill me right here. So you remember Ohio State losing to Oregon back earlier in the season. That put Ohio State at number 11, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And then Alabama, all of a sudden, they lose to a 3-2 Texas A&M team, the same Texas A&M team that scores 10 in Colorado, and loses to a terrible Mississippi State team, and Alabama only drops to number 5. I just don't understand it.
I brought that up yesterday. We got to go because of time. I brought that up yesterday. Penn State lost to number 3 on the road, dropped from 4 to 8. Number 1 lost to an unranked team that struggled, and they dropped 4 spots. Now, again, a lot of it depends on who's behind you. Some of that depends on timing in the polls. But I did bring that up yesterday. Mm-hmm. So that's a good point. I agree with you.
I think a lot of voters just say, well, we still think Alabama's the best team, and that's what they go by. And you can agree with that or not agree with that. I do think there has to be some accountability. I don't care that your backup quarterback was in the game. I don't care that your star receiver was injured. And I'm just throwing like random examples. But like the only time injuries or home field or things of that nature get brought up is in a loss is when a really good team loses that you don't want to budge out of the playoffs. Like when Alabama loses, there's always like a catch to it. You know what I'm saying? But if another team loses, and they're not alone in that, but if other teams lose, it's like, oh, you're done. But wait, we had our Thursday. No, you're done. But wait a second. Like 2 weeks ago, Alabama had their, and there's countless examples of this happening.
I'm curious to see what the catch would be on this one because A&M had all the strife. A&M's playing with their backup quarterback.
Exactly.
A&M's playing with an offensive line. A&M's coming off 2 losses. Now Alabama, like Bryce Young's there, Mechie's there.
If Cincinnati lost to unbeaten 24th ranked SMU, they'd be nuked out of the top 10.
Yeah. Maybe top 25. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a bias when it comes to that. And before SEC fans go crazy, look, their teams deserve a lot of love. But if you're looking at it genuinely, then yes, there is a little bit of a difference with certain teams when they lose. And it's not just the SEC, it's big programs in general.
But earn your way back up the poll.
Yeah, they don't really ever have to earn 20 spots. They have to earn like 6. Whereas another team in a similar situation loses, they got to gain 25 spots.
I have called it what, Paul, for the last several years? The bubble, the SEC bubble. They've earned it. And they have won a lot of national titles, but there is a bubble.
But the team loses, they drop, but they still remain in somehow, and the team that beats them leaps into the top 25. So now your big team loses, but you have more top Kentucky. 25 teams than you had before you left. Like, that's BS, man. That is BS.
One more call.
All right. Mike wants to talk about the transfer portal. Mike in Richmond, Virginia. Thanks for your call.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. Great show, as always.
Appreciate you.
I'm big Penn State fan here. Obviously had a tough game at Iowa, and when our quarterback went down, we were kind of dominating that game, and then our starting quarterback Clifford went down with his injury, and we don't know the status, but it really showed kind of the negative side of the transfer portal because, before in prior years, you'd have, a veteran backup quarterback available. Well, now, guys who can play they're going into the portal, going elsewhere. And so you're kind of down to, freshmen and redshirt freshmen and throwing them into a game in Kinnick Stadium where it's just a tough environment. So kind of saw the negative aspect of the transfer portal on Saturday.
Well, you know what? Oklahoma almost felt it, but they didn't. Caleb Williams came in and he was a star because Tanner Mordecai's now starring at SMU. And I agree with you. There can be an attrition. There will be. That's what makes, and you wonder if you could live those times with Art Browse was at Baylor. RG3, Nick Florence, Bryce Petty, Seth Russell, Jarrett Stidham, all of them stayed. Now, the rules were different back then. I still think because they believed in what he did for quarterbacks, all of them would have stayed, but it would have been interesting to see because he kept them all there forever.
That's why teams used to, if you sent a quarterback in one class, you would skip a class. Because, you wouldn't want to, create some sort of logjam. Now, you have to sign a quarterback in every class. Because you're going to lose somebody in the portal. You just know you are.
All right, when we come back, he won a Heisman Trophy at Brigham Young. He's coaching again at high school, I think, in Arizona. Ty Detmer, Brigham Young and Baylor Saturday. His thoughts about the Cougars in the Big 12 coming up, but also their team this year. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Back in a moment. Pickup Outfitters can help decorate and add spice to whatever you have when your pickup truck or your SUV with bumpers and grill guards and more. But one of the things they can do, and especially now when the weather starts to change a little bit, it rained overnight, it might spit, get a little colder, depends on where you live. They have the best when it comes to truck covers, bed covers for your pickup truck. And if you don't want to scratch up or dent the inside of your bed with your pickup truck, they have lay-in and spray-in liners. Different types of options for you. And you can go to their location, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or on their website, createacommotion.com. What Jay Ehret's done with that business, it was there all the time. I drove by it all the time, didn't know that business was there. Nothing against the old ownership. Jay Ehret took over, all of a sudden, bam. They're wide open. You hear about them all the time. His marketing is fantastic and sometimes it's naughty, but he gets your attention. But I'll tell you this, pickup truck, bed covers, lay-in, spray-in liners, they have them. CreateACommotion.com and Pickup Outfitters, Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Allen Samuels, we're proud to announce that Dodge is the #2 brand overall in new vehicle initial quality by J.D. Power. We've got amazing offers this month, so let our team help find the new 2021 Dodge vehicle that's right for you.
Come by. Let's be friends.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Call us on the BetUS hotline, 254-339-1122.
All right, we're back. Sikkim 365 Radio. We'll be hearing from Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Ty Detmer. Brigham Young, Baylor, coming up Saturday afternoon, 2:30. Congratulations to Texas A&M quarterback Zach Calzada. He was named today the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award National Player of the Week. I want you to think about this because if you look at his overall stats, he threw for 3 touchdowns, just under 300 yards. It was more than that with him. It was the courage, it was the drive, it was the will, it was coming out of the tent, what appeared to be could be a bad injury, and help them beat the #1 ranked team in the country. How good was he in the moment he was? Kennedy Brooks, 217 yards and 2 touchdowns, including the game winner. Gary Bohannon threw for 335 yards and 4 touchdowns and ran for 1. Xavier Worthy, an unbelievable game, the freshman receiver from Texas. Those were just some of the names. And Zach Calzada is the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award winner for this week, and it was a tremendous list, no question about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of great players in college football right now from the state of Texas or who are playing their ball in the state of Texas, and it's a fun deal to be a part of the Earl Award and look through the box scores every week. It can get a little bit tedious, but then you start to see, name after name after name putting up a big performance, all the way from Frank Harris at UTSA to Kennedy Brooks on a big stage like Saturday. And typically don't include teams or players from teams that lose, their games. But Xavier Worthy had such a great performance that he was included because of the impact that he had on that game, despite the fumble as well. But yeah, great list, and I was curious to see where the votes were going to go, but not surprised it went to Zach Calzada because of just the emotions of that game, the role that he played in it, and obviously just a massive win for Texas A&M.
All right, we're tracking down here. Did you try to call him? It's the second number.
Yeah, I call him.
Okay. All right, we'll try to get Ty Detmer located and set up. It was an incredible performance by him, especially since coming off the losses. Of course, they had the loss to Mississippi State as well. Hey, by the way, congratulations to another Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Robert Griffin III is going to be a part of the next class of the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. That'll be inducted next year. So RG3 in the High School Hall of Fame and now will be in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. And Ty Detmer knows about all of that. Texan himself joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Ty, thanks for your time. We appreciate that. How ironic is it to you that Brigham Young is playing Baylor for the first time in almost 30 years, in the same year that all of a sudden Brigham Young will one day be a part of the same conference?
Well, I think it's pretty ironic. I think it's a great opportunity to start getting in the mix there. I know the game's been scheduled for a while before any of the talk really even probably started, but I think everybody's excited to be from BYU to be playing in the Big 12 and to be a part of that conference and a part of the tradition that it's had.
What do you think of the job that Coach Satake has done so far at BYU?
He's done a great job. I mean, last year was a whole different year for everybody, and they were able to have a great season. I think go 11-1, and have more players playing in the NFL now. Guys get drafted, which hadn't really happened in the past few years before he got there, and so I think everybody's excited the direction the program's going, and now with the addition of the Big 12, that's only going to help recruiting and all the things that go with it as well.
Did you ever imagine that BYU was going to be able to step up to that next level, or did that see something that was like a little bit out of reach?
I know there was talk a few years ago with the Big 12 wanting to expand and talking about it, and then it never really materialized. So I think at some point, at least everybody up there, we felt like BYU being a Power 5 type of conference at some point or in the discussion, and college football is ever changing and always evolving. So, here we are.
What do you think it means to the fan base?
It's big for the fan base. I think it, gives credibility to the program that they've been doing the right things and doing it the right way in order for a conference to invite them to join. And I know for our fans as an independent, it was always tough because you just don't feel like you really got a home. There's none of the all-conference honors. You're not playing for a conference championship. And now going forward, we'll have those opportunities to get engaged and have that maybe develop some new rivalries between teams that we haven't really had before.
You know what? I never thought about it. They don't get player of the weeks, like no all conference. I never thought about that as an independent. But yeah, that's right, and that's kind of amazing to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, when I went up there, they had the team room and had pictures of guys that were all American and all conference, over the years, and we kind of lost that when you go independent. You don't have those opportunities for players to be recognized, and so it'll be nice to be able to start that new tradition.
How big is it also to have a better shot at getting a national championship trophy? I mean, it's not impossible now, Ty, but it's as impossible as it could get given the current rules.
Yeah, it was. It was, a very long shot to be able to get invited to get into the playoffs without being in a conference and having the conference championship game and strength of schedule. I think BYU's done a good job over the last few years with playing as tough a teams as they could play, but towards the end of the year when everybody else is playing conference games, then you're just kind of taking what you can get, and the last part of the schedule was always kind of lean back then because other teams they're focused on their conference and trying to win that, and BYU was kind of caught just taking whatever they could get at that point.
Ty, when you won the Heisman Trophy, when that was announced, RG3 We mentioned him just a minute ago. He's going into another Hall of Fame here in Texas for the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. And, of course, you being a Texan and what that means to you as well. But when you heard your name, what actually went through your mind or your heart or your soul?
It's tough to describe. I mean, it's kind of a surreal outer body experience a little bit. At the time, we were in Hawaii, and I was the only one that could hear it. And the whole team was around, which was pretty nice and unique. And glad to have those guys around because they were as big a part of it as anybody. But, you know, it was just kind of one of those moments where you can't believe they did call your name, and that's going to be part of what follows you around the rest of your life, you know. So it was a special moment, something I'm always proud to be a part of.
Did you freeze for a second? I mean, like, did you think like this isn't real, or I've got to go up there and get this trophy now? And
No, it was, the initial shock of hearing your name was kind of like, oh, we got it, and then it was, the celebration kind of ensued with teammates and coaches, and then, we had to go play a game. But I remember those few hours we had before the game where we went back to the hotel room and you're just sitting there by yourself, kind of like, we didn't have cell phones back then to get on and post things or see what people were saying. But, you just kind of sitting there by yourself, kind of like, man, that's crazy. That just happened, So it was pretty special moment.
Yeah, you would have had 1 million followers on Twitter at this point in this day and age. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I didn't want to see what they had to say.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a different. Now that's interesting because you said you were in Hawaii for a game, and now, of course, it's a drawn out, almost Academy Award type of deal that they have, and it's after the season is over. So it wasn't like back in the day, and I know that means because I'm old, but it was kind of in some old dark ballroom then as well. So you weren't even there when they announced it?
No, it was a week earlier, and I think teams are still kind of finishing up the season.
Mm-hmm.
We were playing Hawaii, which gave us that extra 12th game. When you played Hawaii, you got one more game, and so that was our final game of the year. And then, like you said, you go back to the old downtown athletic club, which I think after 9/11 it got condemned, but it was kind of like you think it's going to be this fancy place, and it was an old athletic club, and they had a couple floors which were designated for the Heisman, which were pretty neat, special to be able to go in there before everything got shut down. But it was just the tradition and the history, and then being able to meet a lot of the former winners that next weekend was something I'll never forget.
I mentioned RG3 in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. You're a part of that. The state that we're in, your home state, and how deep it is with all the history of the greatest athletes in so many places. Is that one of the greatest honors that's ever been bestowed on you?
It is for me. My dad was a high school football coach for over 50 years, so I knew exactly what that meant to be a part of that group, and to be a part of a Texas Sports Hall of Fame, just with the tradition of Texas football and all the things that go with it. That's definitely one of the highlights of my career, is being able to be a part of that because of the tradition that Texas has with sports in general, but especially football, and to be recognized by the state of Texas for that was special for our family.
So are you still at the Queen Creek? Is that right? American Leadership Queen Creek in Arizona?
Yes, sir. This is my first year coaching here. I worked as an athletic director for the district last year, and they talked me into getting back into coaching and having a great time with the boys here. So we're having a good season and enjoying every minute of it. And
that's not the first time you've been coaching. In fact, you were at Brigham Young for a little bit with Coach Sataki, and you have been coaching. You've coached in Texas as well. Is that just because of your father, Sonny? Is that in your blood?
It is. That's what I grew up with, and obviously are comfortable around football and young men and locker rooms and all those things. So it's just something that I grew up with and appreciate, every opportunity you get. And so it's great to be back in coaching. I wasn't sure if I would coach again or not, and doing camps and those kind of things, but now full time as a head coach again, you're all in, and of equipment manager, part-time trainer, all those things that go into being a high school football coach.
Of course, Coy was a really good player at Colorado as well. Your father, there's a lot of times when people look at who invented this wide-open passing game. Does his name get mentioned enough as somebody that was also a part of this?
I think it does. I mean, back when I was playing high school in the late 80s, we were throwing it 30 times a game, which back then was a ton, and it kind of neutralized the defenses that were built to stop the option or the run. And so we were able to kind of use our talent that we had in high school to maximize, an opportunity to get guys in space. And he was one of those guys that just believed in the passing game and never really had a big time job where he went in where he just had dominant teams. So he had to be creative and create opportunities to get skilled guys in space and get them the ball.
I was on the phone yesterday with Margene Hooks, who's now he's I guess a trainer. He does a lot of work with the athletes and wide receivers who are coming out of high school in the summer. He mentioned that he's the one that allowed you to wear jersey number 14.
I was a little before Margin, so and Margin's he's been a great ambassador for BYU in the state of Texas, working with kids and always promoting BYU when he does it. But I think I had Gifford Nielsen allowed me to wear 14, so I was appreciative of that.
And think about those quarterbacks: you, Gifford Nielsen, Jim McMahon. There's so many. Steve Young, excuse me. It's nuts, right? The tradition of what was that like knowing
Zach Wilson
now,
Hall. What's that like when you came in knowing the history of that quarterback room?
Well, and like I said, when I first got there, you see the pictures on the wall and you see the Davey O'Brien Awards on the wall, and when you first come in, it's like, man, that would be cool if I could have my picture on the wall someday, and so. No one, I mean, that was a draw for me. I grew up in Texas, didn't know anything about BYU and had seen them play on TV, throwing the ball around, and was like, man, hey, there's a college team throwing it a lot, so that piqued my interest. And then you go up there and you learn more about it and the quarterback tradition there and the guys that have played before you. It's like, okay, if I can be successful here, it's a great opportunity to play in the NFL, and that was my dream as a little kid, to have an opportunity to play there someday in the NFL, and BYU was the perfect fit for me to be able to go and continue doing what we had done in high school. And our offenses, it was kind of eerie how similar they were, and the background on the offenses were similar. Back, my dad got it from Paul Brown back, in the day, and kind of took it and tweaked it, and then kind of added to it there at BYU.
Ty, if you don't mind me asking another question, we had a caller a minute ago talk about how teams are being hurt now because of the transfer portal at the quarterback position and maybe elsewhere, because you always had somebody in the background marinating, not just some blue chip who was on the roster, but a guy that might have been a third or fourth year redshirt type player. Do you see that affecting maybe sometimes the quarterback room because they can now leave as quickly as they can?
Yeah, for sure. The developmental part of playing quarterback is lost a little bit because kids think they need to come in and play right away and play their freshman year. And if I'm not, then okay, they're very impatient right now. And, sometimes they need to go, but I like to see kids stick it out 2 or 3 years and give it a shot and see if they can earn the chance to play. And, you look at BYU last year, you had Zach Wilson, Jaron Hall sitting there, Baylor Romney sitting there. All three of those guys have won games for BYU and played well, and all three of them could probably start other places. But, Jaron and Baylor are there, and they've kind of gone back and forth here with Jaron had a rib injury, and now Baylor stepped in and won a big game at Utah State. And so, they've kind of hung in there with their group, and it just adds stability. And when one guy goes down, you're not all of a sudden to your number 3 or 4 quarterback, because you've got a true backup that's been there a couple of years and knows the system, and the team feels real comfortable when any of those guys go in because they've stuck it out and they've hung in there. But some of these other teams, you go from 1 to 4 real quick when 2 guys leave in the spring.
Ty, thank you, man. It's great to have you on the show for all the things you've done. We appreciate it. Enjoy and good luck with the rest of the year.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Ty Detmer, American Leadership Queen Creek football program head coach, put up silly numbers as a high school player in Texas and, of course, at Brigham Young. And he was in the NFL. He played a lot of places: Green Bay, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Cleveland, Detroit, Atlanta. And again, kind of bounced around and was always available. I remember those times when he was both with Green Bay and also with
I always
Philadelphia.
thought he would wind up, because he was in the NFL a long time as a backup quarterback, he would be an NFL coach.
Kind of like Wade Wilson
Or
became
Doug
a late
Peterson.
Wade Wilson. Yeah, someone like that. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Do y'all realize like how many connections there really are with these staffs? I mean, like there's the obvious, well, Aranda hired Jeff Grimes and Eric Mateos and was it Matt Mitchell, I think, as well, the quality control coach. But do y'all know, okay, so for example, who was Baylor's head coach on January 1st, 2016?
The head coach?
The head coach of Baylor, right? Yeah, still Art Briles. But that was the day that Aranda was announced to be heading to LSU as defensive coordinator. Tech. Who did he replace?
No, it's from
Wisconsin. He went to Wisconsin. Dave Aranda.
Okay.
So January 1st, 2016, Art Briles is still head coach at Baylor. Dave Aranda's hired as LSU DC. Who did he replace?
At LSU?
Yes.
Bo Pelini, right?
No, Pelini was just a couple of
Kevin Steele. That's who he
Steele.
replaced. There's one connection there. I mean, there's also multiple connections that Aranda mentioned from BYU's assistant head coach, and going all the way back to like Redlands High School when he was first starting out as a head coach and having conversations with him. But yeah, I mean, back then, you think about all that's changed at Baylor since January 1st of 2016. But yeah, the day that Aranda got hired, he was replacing Kevin Steele. You know who was on that staff with him at that time? It was Jeff Grimes, and like I could go on and on and on about like all the ways that these guys connected, but it's very interesting, and that's why I really think that both teams are going to be, chin straps on, ready to go, ready to play, because, regardless of if Baylor's more talented or BYU or whatever way you view it, I'm expecting these two teams to come in here and just physically want to whip each other. I mean, that's what I'm expecting on Saturday.
I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I think David Aranda even said to me yesterday, and he may have said this in the presser, that two similar programs, the way they run, the way they do, I'm looking forward to it. I really am. When last year cleared, and thank God it did when it did, when I started to look down the road, when they finally started having some legitimate names on their non-conference schedule, Brigham Young, Utah, Oregon, Auburn. This is kind of that stretch. They've had a couple of others, Duke, and there's been but I love this. I love this game. I love the fact they're playing the game, and I think it's just crazy. It's the year that they actually are going to a different Big 12 here soon, with Brigham Young coming in during the summer of 2023. Mack Rhoades will join us today. We'll take a break right here. Sikkim 365 Radio. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Yes, they do, and Marco's Pizza delivers for you wherever you might be in the Waco area or around, as a lot of you are, the country. Go to marcos.com and get your order. You can order online. You could also have it delivered. And Marco's Pizza, the one we always get, the all-meat pizza, thin crust. They have the three cheese topping, and the original sauce from back when they opened up their first store in the 1980s. Also, Bob Mock, the owner here in Waco, 4 locations. A new one that's in Robinson, China Spring, Woodway, and in Bellmead. And the Bellmead store is the one we call to deliver here to Armstrong and Jack, who are always hungry. It's also Marco's Pizza with all you want wings, you have wings. You want salads, they have that. Sandwiches and others, appetizers, and various types of other Italian food, because Marco's Pizza, pizza lovers get it at marcos.com.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. Thank you, Genco. And don't forget, your vote counts. Vote today for your local school to win $1,500 with Genco's School Spirit Competition. For more information, go to gencofcu.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Big in trouble and sacked. Terrell Bernard, the captain.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, from the 3-2-1, in my 22 years as a UCF alum, I've never seen this with anyone. Since Boise, starting quarterback out, starting running back out, number one wide receiver out, top 3 defensive player out, all freshmen secondary, ouch.
They're the New York Giants of college football.
They're the Jennifer Smoak, fantasy football owner of college football. Here is from the 540. If you could bring back one college football conference, which would it be, and what teams would you want to see in the conference? Well, I hated the Big 8 died because of the Southwest Conference died before them, and the Big 8 was then combined to become the Big 12. The Big 8 was a great conference. They all seemed to like each other. Of course, that was going to change because it's the way college football. Any conference in particular? Is there a conference that's not like no longer in existence?
No. And look, every conference that has changed, ultimately, I know this Big 12 one didn't seem like it at first, but I've come to believe that every conference that has changed for the better. The Southwest Conference was bad because it made Texas teams so ridiculously and stupidly myopic that they could not compete on the national scale for 20 years.
They were cheating.
Yeah, but they were only trying to beat each other, and they didn't give a crap.
Isn't that the point of playing each other? You want to beat each other.
But they didn't think about what happens after we beat each other. Can we go more? They were so focused on each other that Nebraska, Florida State, Michigan, Miami, Florida, all these teams are winning national titles and in contention. Ohio
passing
State,
them right by.
and passing them right by. And the Southwest Conference is too busy in this circle jerk of what they were doing to try to. And then they ruined it because they were so cheating and focused on each other. It was stupid. It's good that Southwest Conference is gone. It's probably not the Big Eight, maybe not for the better, because again, the Southwest Conference teams came in and ruined it. But every
ruined some of the tradition.
Yeah, ruined some of the tradition. But I think every conference has kind of come and gone. It's usually for the better.
Going back to the UCF injuries, I mean that's brutal. But injuries are piling up this time of year for a lot of teams. But Jalen Robinson, the reason I go back to that is because that's a Texas guy right there, originally from Fort Worth. He's been on the Earl list a few times, a dynamic player. So that's definitely a big loss for UCF. But yeah, for me, being a little bit younger, I don't really have the nostalgia factor for any of those older conferences. I mean, if I miss anything, I think it would be having A&M and Nebraska and Colorado and that original Big 12, Missouri, all together. I just think you had all of those state schools and you had all of this geography covered. I mean, the Midwest and the South was, outside of the Deep South, pretty much yours. And, I like West Virginia. TCU's fine. It's great. But I really did like that original Big 12 conference. Now, obviously, the breaking up of it has led to teams like Baylor succeeding in, in roundabout ways because those teams on their way out were either down or just not even, competition anymore, and it made way for some others to make some headway. But, I mean, that's about as far as I would go. I'm not old enough to have the Southwest Conference, love in my heart. That was never really a factor for me at all. I was too young when it broke apart. So I basically grew up a Big 12 baby. So that's what I would point to, I guess.
All right, 254-339-1122. That's the text line right now. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with Mack Rhoades. Here's a couple of text line comments, and then we leave. Let me see here. From Alex, the only team that is any good this year in the entire state of Texas is surprisingly the Cowboys.
They're
pretty damn good. Yeah,
I don't know. I think Texas is pretty good. I think A&M's pretty good. I think Baylor's pretty good. TCU's pretty good. Although we'll see there. But yeah, I mean, to your point, the Cowboys are far and away the best team in the state of Texas right now. Absolutely, and there's no national title contenders at the moment. Not with Texas having 2 losses, and I guess A&M, under different circumstances, I think A&M would be a really fascinating watch. I'm not so sure that Zach Calzada is going to hold up the whole way. You know what I mean? But yeah, the Cowboys are definitely the best team in the conference.
In the state. From Chris, I think Oklahoma State will win in Austin, set up Bedlam rivalry game for the Big 12 title. When you think about how things have changed since Texas and Oklahoma news broke, it's great. A rebound for the Cowboys and a few others. That remains to be seen. That's a long way to go. There's a lot of teams that are pretty much almost appear to be the same.
So who would have a shot at a national title Baylor at best would have it, and they have no shot really unless they were to run the table and then a bunch of calamity were to happen around them. Oh, SMU, SMU, I guess if they were to go on, but we know that they're not going to get a whole lot of love.
They could run the table and beat. Do they play Cincinnati?
Yeah.
They could run the table, but that I'm telling you, we all know the ending there. We do. Cincinnati, even with a win against Notre Dame, might have to still try to hang on for life. Who knows? In the Big 12, if Oklahoma or Oklahoma State run the table, they're in. Either one of them. I don't care what else happens. I know that there's going to be like 5 teams from the SEC in a 4-team playoff. If Oklahoma or Oklahoma State run the table,
sure,
they will vote one of whoever does it, and I don't think either one will. Or both of them will. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I just realized that, though, with that comment that, there's no contenders right now unless SMU runs the table, unless Baylor wins out, and that's about it.
And Baylor would have to win out against teams that are like Oklahoma remains in the top 5 or 6 or so. All right, when we come back, Mack Rhoades, Baylor's Director of Athletics, Sikkim 365 Radio.
BetUS.com. Why BetUS? Well, they're the 3-decade leader. Remember these promo codes, Sikkim125 and Sikkim 200. That's 125% bonus on cash for a deposit of $100 or more, or 200% if you use crypto. They've been serving clients for 25 plus years and prides themselves on being known as America's favorite sports book. And with action on every sport across the world, we can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game, and their loyalty program is legendary. And don't forget the promo codes SICK'EM125 and SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 and SICK'EM200.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's initial quality study. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is first among all midsize trucks. Quality and Ram Power Days, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Baylor's Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Was there ever a time at the end of July when things changed in college football and for the Big 12 where you and everyone else involved started to look at the future, that you ever actually realized that one of your soon-to-be members was on your schedule in Brigham Young?
I wish I was that good. Not even close. Yeah,
life has changed. So, no, I think right when the whole conference stuff, happened, I think, immediately certainly knew that BYU would be, one of the primary candidates. So, not surprising at all.
What do you think about this game on Saturday, at least atmosphere-wise? They usually bring a lot of fans, Mac. I know that there are different promotions out there for the students to get involved. What do you think it's going to look like on Saturday?
Yeah, well, we're expecting, sold out. And I know that we've got some tickets remaining, but not many. And so let's sell this thing out and make sure that we've got a great crowd, and that BYU knows and understands when they come to Waco and they play the Bears in McClain Stadium. It's a tough game, and it's going to be loud, and we're going to make it as difficult as we possibly can. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere, and as you all know, they come in ranked 19th in the country, and they're a really good football program, and have been over the years. And you think about, I think I saw a stat, the last 18 games or 16-2, something like that. And so they're legit, and we're going to have our hands full.
Well, Mac, when we talked to you a week ago, your football team was coming off of a bad loss up in Stillwater, and obviously Aranda in that post game in Stillwater immediately, went to talking about him being accountable, the staff, the players, looking at what they did wrong and correcting that. And I think it's safe to say that he's a man of his word, because that was a much sharper performance last weekend against West Virginia. And not really much doubt past the first quarter. What were your thoughts on that bounce-back performance from Aranda and company?
Yeah, and I really appreciate that about Coach. He will always look at himself first, and then certainly staff and keep everybody accountable. And I thought absolutely our most complete game. In all phases, I thought we were really, really good defensively. Obviously, we gave up that drive, their first drive, gave up that touchdown. But then I thought we really settled in, afterwards. And then I thought offensively, we were really, really good. I was thrilled to see us throw the long ball. I thought that was Gary did a really good job of doing that. He accounts for 5 touchdowns. And so again, I thought just a really, really good overall performance by the entire team.
All right, I thought, quite frankly, I don't know what pregame speech is, but here, Armstrong, do you have this picture, please? This was the difference maker. This is Mack Rhoades, I guess, in one of the offices. Where in the
looks like the
world?
bank, actually.
The bank. Where and who made those pants?
So yeah, that was just for a special occasion. That was a short hour window, right? We have an all staff luncheon every home game, and I was just trying to be, with the spirit, trying to wear the green and gold and fire some people up. And, those pants are actually made by a legitimate company, Loudmouth, and they're golf pants, and I like them, and I may wear them again.
No, you have
Mac,
to. Now
you're 1-0 in the pants,
you're stuck. You have to.
Kind of how it goes. Also, can people order the Mack Rhoades collection? I mean, it might be something you need to start thinking about branding. Just saying.
Name, image, and likeness. not just limited to student athletes.
Wow. Yeah, that's like the Bobby Jones collection now, of those pants. The Loudmouth, the name of the company. We showed that picture while we asked you that question. It's just, that was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm digging it, Mac. I like it. I think it's a good look. You should keep it up. But hey, we spent a lot of time last week Smokey in particular, talking about, some of the fan reactions, the game day atmosphere and things like that. We had Jovan on. She was fantastic, and I thought she handled all the questions really well. And I thought that there was a great atmosphere with the berm this past weekend. Looked fantastic. I could tell the difference, just in kind of the in-game, some of the stuff. What have been kind of the thoughts that you've received or your thoughts on, just changing things up a little bit last weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that at least from feedback that I received that, people felt better about it. We still a work in progress with our students, and, there was a decision made to, for less students to run the line. And so we're working through that. Hoping that we've got, max students for this game. Again, as you mentioned, Craig, I thought the berm looked terrific. It's always a little bit harder with an 11 a.m. kick and the tailgate presence. That's been the case, here at Baylor for years. Any 11, or at least let me better state it. At least since I've been here. When you have an 11 a.m. kick, that makes it a little bit more difficult for the tailgating, and I've seen that at other institutions. But look, it's a work in progress for us. We're going to continue to chip away at it, and we want to have an unbelievable environment, both pregame and certainly during the game. I thought the music, the DJ, all of that. I thought those were all really, really good things.
You mentioned this too.
Smoke, by the way, hats off, and sorry to interrupt you because I did want to be intentional about mentioning this. Hats off to our band. Oh my God! Yeah. If you missed that was phenomenal. The tribute to the men's basketball program and the national championship, and then the Scott Drew picture, the head, whatever you want to call that. I'm still trying to get my hands on that so I can stake it out on his front lawn.
I got to tell you this, that most of the time at halftime, I'm doing something that I'm trying to play catch up on things that I can do because there's 30 minutes or whatever. I even put something out on my Twitter feed. I'm not one that pays too much attention to that. A lot of times it may be the same thing. I'm not saying that's the case, but that was special. The motion of the members of the band from a crossover dribble to a dunk, and it was crazy. Plus, as you mentioned, the picture, and I sent Isaiah, by the way, a nice little note too. I just thought that was truly fantastic to see. How much, when you guys are having any kind of discussion among the Big 12, how much do the incoming 4 teams or programs have? Do they listen, or do they have the ability to maybe have an opinion in the room or on Zoom?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and so as of now, they've not been involved in our meetings. That will change here in the future, but 3 of those institutions, the current American Athletic Conference institutions, they're still working through their exit, and nothing official to this point in time, and so we're waiting to see when that gets across the finish line, and then I would say that they would be invited to meetings, not every meeting, but I think certainly systematically once we know, and the commissioner conference office has certainly kept the 4 athletic directors up to speed, and so that's where we are right now with it. I've known Tom, the athletic director at BYU for many years when I was at Missouri, and the whole racial issue on the Missouri campus, and the potential boycott of a football game. That game was versus BYU, and Tom reached out, and he couldn't have been more supportive. Just a wonderful, wonderful human being. So I look forward to seeing him on Saturday.
After Boise State beat Brigham Young, did you get a text from Jeremiah that said, "Hey, we're pretty good too. We can play football in the Big 12"?
So always be proactive. So I sent him one before he could send me that one, and said, "Congratulations, so happy for you. Not thrilled that you now have BYU really fired up, and oh, by the way, still not ready for the Big 12." So that was the text.
Wow, man, that was kind of a little dagger. I read the article. Pete Thamel did a summary of the college football weekend. We had him on yesterday, and the reason we did, and one, he's a really good writer, but he had some quotes from Dave Aranda, who I asked yesterday about some of these quotes with a chance. I get a chance to visit with him every other week. He called himself last year, "I was very much a stepdad. I wanted to be a dad. I was following a strong coach and leader in Matt Rhoades, who did a great job here. And me coming in, one-on-one conversation with guys in relationships, talking about the Zoom." Has he brought that up to you? I thought that was a tremendous analogy.
Yeah, no, he has. Coach Aranda and I have had many conversations, and certainly we had 3 or 4, meetings, longer discussions right at the end of the 2020 season, and it's one of the things that we talked about, and we talked about him feeling like a stepdad, and maybe as we got to that last game of the 2020 season, he finally felt like he was the dad, and he mentioned it, so I'm certainly not going to be bashful in stating it, but Matt was hard to follow because very outspoken. You always knew where Matt stood, and in terms of the staff and student athletes, and very vocal. And Dave has talked about being more of an introvert, and then you throw in just the obstacles that COVID caused in terms of trying to establish relationships with staff and or student athletes. And so it was just a hard time. And what I'm most proud of, in terms of Dave, is the way that he handled it all. He never panicked. He never, put his head down. He just, continued to plow through and chip away and do the things that he believes in terms of establishing a championship culture. And, and now, again, I think you're beginning to see the results of it, midway through the season. So we still have a lot of football to go. But, I think that, as we think about the remaining 6 games, regular season games, and then, years following, I'm really, proud and happy, where the program is and where it's headed. And look, it's never good enough, right? And we're gonna continue to push and pull and tug and fight, scratch and claw, because it's never good enough. You always got to get better. And I think we're in that process.
There's one other quote I'll bring up, but I know you got to go. "It's easier to hire a coach when you're hiring them for what he does. It's difficult when you're hiring for who he is. That's the major difference." Do you feel like that's why he was able to act so fast, emphatically, with what he did following the end of the season last year?
Yeah, I mean, that really tore him up, and we talked about it, and never hesitated whatsoever, because knew it was the right decision. But he cares about people, and he knows that those types of decisions impact. They're far-reaching, right? They're deep in terms of just not impacting the individual, but the families, all of those things. And so yeah, he he knew and acted quickly because bottom line, that's what was best for the program.
Thank you, Mac. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much. We'll see you Saturday. Should be fun.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mack
Bye-bye.
Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor University, with us. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Trying to give as much coverage as we can this week with Baylor and Brigham Young. Ty Detmer today. Kalani Sitake, BYU coach yesterday. Aranda yesterday. And we'll have RG3 for a little bit tomorrow. Irvin Randall. Baylor fans will remember him. Played in the NFL a little bit. I think that's John Randall's brother, who's in the Hall of Fame from Mumford, Texas. And, of course, John Randall played at A&I and was a great player in the NFL. Irvin Randall played the last time that Brigham Young and Baylor played, back in 83 and 84. The first time was a shootout. Steve Young had a huge game. Baylor won that game. Irvin Randall had 8 tackles in that game. He'll join us tomorrow. And then 84, Brigham Young smoked Baylor pretty good in that next game the following year. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Tradition and experience that serves you. Tradition of what they have when it comes to product. Experience of how long they've been in business, since 1943. And the fact that customers, when you're there, basically you almost feel like, man, you see others. You know a lot of other people are in the building looking at the product they have, pipe, steel, metal, etc. But you feel like you're the only one there because that's the kind of treatment you get. Reputation built one customer at a time. You hear that, you see that on some businesses, with businesses, and probably most of them try to do that. And then again, Pioneer Steel and Pipe since 1943. That says it all. Metal buildings, metal roofing, pipe and steel. 2 locations in Bryan and Waco, open on Saturday 8 until noon if you can't get by there during the week. And also they will deliver because it's heavy product, bulky, heavy product, and unload it for you if that's what you need as well. They don't want you to just be there once and buy something. They want you to come back and back and back. That's the best compliment because of their product, because of their customer service. And in 1943, pioneerboys.com.
The bad news. Computer chip shortages have negatively affected all vehicle inventory worldwide. The good news is General Motors just announced they are restarting production and will release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Cars and trucks are coming. Now is the time to contact Richard Carr and get your name on a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac as they are being shipped. Get your name on our first in line priority list and you can get your car trucked first as they arrive. If you need a pickup, get the best. Get a Sierra from Richard Carr. The ideal combination of power and strength combined with refinement and luxury makes Sierra the best truck on the road. If you want a roomy SUV, consider Buick. The Buick lineup of SUVs offer the size and versatility to fit every lifestyle. Or maybe you want the ultimate combination of sophistication and power of a new Cadillac XT6 or Escalade. With dozens of lenders, we say yes when others say no. 100% credit approval is always the goal. Go online or come by for a test drive today. Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership. Give Richard Carr Motors a chance to earn your business, and they are owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
At Richard Carr, we give you
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Since its inception, Pickup Outfitters has remained politically neutral. We love trucks of every persuasion, not just red and blue ones. But people keep asking us where we stand, and for this one time, we're going to break our neutrality. We oppose any government intervention or legislation to end truck nudity. We believe in the American right to drive nude vehicles. We think it's disgusting, we fight it every place we can, and we want to end it, but we want to end it the right way, peaceably. Therefore, we call on Congress and President Biden to respect the rights of truck owners. Our founding fathers didn't own a truck, but if they did, I bet they would have put a bed cover and running boards on their truck. The right to keep and bear your truck the way you want is fundamental to the fabric of this nation, and we believe in that right. So we urge you to come and take it at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. On the web at createacommotion.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Smoak. Time for Off the Radar. Look at some other stories outside of college football and most of the main topics we discuss on this show. So let's go back to John Gruden. We started off the show talking about him and then got away from that for a little while. Well, he has now lost his first sponsorship, and I'm sure we'll lose far more. I'm not sure exactly how many sponsorships he has in total, but Skechers, the shoe company, has announced that they are no longer going to be doing business with the 58-year-old Gruden. He was announced as a new brand ambassador for the company back in late January. But as of today, they have taken down the web page that had the announcement on there back in January. And, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, that in itself is not a surprise, nor is it a huge story, but it's just notable because it's some of the fallout of what's coming from John Gruden's firing is, there are going to be brands that cut ties and there are going to be companies that don't want to do business anymore. And that's just going to be part of the reality for him. But how far it sinks or, when do we hear from him again? Is he just not a part of football? All that stuff, it'll be very interesting to see.
Why not just, with all his money, go buy a place in Cabo and just stay there? Or go buy an island.
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah. I mean, that would be nice, and something he might need to do for the foreseeable future. But, he is no longer a brand ambassador for Skechers shoes. Over on Saturday night, I know that you had some notes on this, so maybe you want to add on to it, but we got to see Wilder and Fury, Part 3. Surprise, surprise. Fury wins again. So he is clearly a better boxer than Deontay Wilder, but it was a good fight, went to late rounds, and Fury eventually wins. But Wilder did have a couple moments in there, and everybody seemed very entertained by the end of the night, which isn't always the case with a lot of these hyped up fights. Mike Tyson had a lot of glowing comments for whatever that's worth, but he seemed to be excited about, what it did for boxing and how the fight went about. So thankfully, this ends the Wilder Fury fights, hopefully for forever, because it's very clear who the better fighter is. But that was a big fight on Saturday night.
Is it though? Before you, Armstrong,
Yeah.
do you have that graphic I sent you on Friday or whenever it was? Go ahead. No, don't put it up yet. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, but he's only whipped him terribly 3 times. But, what do we know about 3 things?
I saw a lot of, I didn't watch it. I tempted because I love boxing, but I haven't really cared about much of any boxing match in a long, long time. Here's what bothered me. This is something I sent to Armstrong. I think it was on Friday. Best trilogy fight of all time. Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder are in the same breath as Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier is blasphemy. Boxing blasphemy.
Well, they don't actually include themselves, as you see
No,
there.
but it says, I know, but they
Well, I don't know why this is even I don't even know why this is a question.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like the fact that it was before the fight, it almost made it appear as if they could have been other.
It'd be like better Batman.
It's got to
George Clooney, Val Kilmer, Christian Bale. I mean, come on.
Yeah, best trilogy fight of all time. I think it would be tough to beat Ali Frazier, but who knows? There's been some other ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the one that stands out to me most, because I was too young for Ali Frazier, and I don't really recall much Pacquiao Marquez, if any. But Gotti Ward, I definitely remember and definitely watched most of all 3 of those fights. In hindsight, I think I went back and watched the first one because the second and third were so good. But yeah, that was a hell of a trilogy. This was not. I mean, this was Fury being clearly the better fighter, but it seems to have went off successfully, and now it's a matter of what's next for boxing. But they can't go to that same well again. That is now completely done, and Tyson Fury is the better boxer. It's very, very clear. So
all right.
You'll see when the next fight gets drummed up, I guess, that the one that's going to create the most buzz, because outside of Wilder and Fury, I'm sure for hardcore boxing fans, there's been other matchups here and there. But in terms of crossing over into mainstream interest, the only fights outside of Wilder and Fury that I really feel like I've heard about at all are the ones involving YouTube stars and former UFC fighters. I mean, those are the ones that are getting the most attention. So boxing's now had this big fight, and like I said, I'm not fanatic enough of a follower to know what the rest of the year holds, but that was a big fight that took place on Saturday night. The NHL season starts later on tonight. Did you guys even have any kind of clue about that?
Yes, I've seen it ramping up, yeah, but I didn't know it started tonight, no.
Yes, Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay will kick off the festivities. Of course, the Lightning.
2-time defending champs.
That's right. So they'll be taking on the Penguins in game number 1. But then in the second game, we'll get the Seattle Kraken. Kraken.
Welcome aboard, guys.
The new franchise NHL team will be making their regular season debut, and they'll be squaring off with the Vegas Golden Knights out in Las Vegas. So, yeah, the Penguins and Lightning, Kraken and Golden Knights. Be interesting to see the new franchise out there in Seattle. Baseball's ongoing right now. We have 3 games on the slate today, with one of them already underway. Game 4 of the ALDS, Houston up 2-1, currently up big on the White Sox at 7-1 in the top of the 8th inning. So the Astros look well on their way.
They get to host the Red Sox in
Is that why there's the big sigh?
Yeah, just the Red Sox. Of course, they didn't play well against the Rays all year, and they beat them. So maybe there's something. I just don't think the Red Sox have the pitching.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Yankees were going to beat the Red Sox. Isn't that came from your mouth?
Yeah, it did. And then something happened.
So say that the Astros, they have no chance against the Astros.
I don't have a great chance against the Astros.
Maybe they do now.
Yes, well, the Astros are well on their way to finishing this thing out. But, right now, 7-1. Astros over the White Sox later on. Actually already underway now as well in the top of the second inning. Game 4, Braves and Brewers are tied at 0 right now. 2-1 series lead there for the Braves. And then later on tonight, it'll be the Giants and the Dodgers. And the Giants currently lead that series 2-1. That'll be just after 8 o'clock on TBS. So a lot of baseball being played today. Giants and Dodgers, your nightcap, as we, of course, don't have football tonight.
The postseason in baseball. Hockey's about to begin.
Yeah.
In a week, it's the NBA. College football, the NFL are in full throttle. It's a great time. Yeah.
Right. It's a nice time for sports. And I also wanted to pass along. I mean, this one, you gave me this one, and this really sucks. I don't think we had mentioned this yesterday. But
no, we didn't.
Folks, it's just a game. It's just a game. Alabama A&M An argument over, this is from ESPN, the Crimson Tide's loss to A&M on Saturday led to a deadly shooting in an Alabama home. 2 men fought over which team was better at a gathering in Birmingham, in the Birmingham suburb of Bessemer, as the game was in its final minutes. According to the police lieutenant there, homeowner asked the men to leave. Shots were fired outside, and officers found a man shot several times in the torso. He was 27 years old, pronounced dead. Keelan Pickens. Around 3:20 a.m. on Sunday, the shooter fled, but they know who he is, and as of last word, he was it was known. His identity was known, so it's just a matter of tracking him down at this point. But, yeah, he was still at large as of the time the story came out. So this is not the first time we've heard a story like this, and it won't be the last time, but, man, it's the dumbest thing in the world every time we hear it.
It's stupid.
It is.
And you see more and more now these fights going on in the stands, and people are beating. I mean, they're like unloading.
A lot of fights.
How about these women, men?
Social media videos where you see just a guy at the house when his team loses, like, freak out and smash things.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and people are like, oh, that's hilarious. Like, no, that's troubling.
No, that's double.
That's troubling.
I've punched a wall or two, but that's a different thing.
Yeah. But by the way,
Jennifer punched a table one time.
Yes, she did.
Chip off the old block. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have removed John Gruden, or will remove him from their Ring of Honor, which is not really surprising, considering that many of those emails were about one of their owners.
Oh, that's right.
So,
who knew that the Washington lawsuit would be the worst thing that could ever happen to John Gruden?
And speaking of which, the NFL Players Association petitions the NFL to release all emails from the Washington football team investigation. There are 650,000, and somebody has read them.
Well,
all of them at some point.
And the odds of John Gruden being the only person who said anything inflammatory are probably pretty low odds, I would think. I don't know, though. I mean, maybe everybody else is not sweating this at all, and they're like, yeah, go ahead. But, this is like a box.
This is Pandora's box.
Pandora's box opening up. I did want to mention, too, though, UConn football. This was one college football note because there wasn't a ton today. But they are a very bad football team. They're a terrible football team. They're 0-7 now at this point. They fired Randy Edsall, what was that, last month, right as the season had gotten underway, when they, just, I guess, saw the writing on the wall. They got beat by UMass this past weekend. But, for the talk about the program and its future and all that, UConn has come out and said, hey, they're all in on football moving forward. There was some talk about them, de-emphasizing or perhaps even dropping down some divisions. But AD David Benedict and head of the school's board, Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont, have been among those that have said as many things. But Lamont said in a phone interview with Yahoo Sports, I'm all in. We have a national university. People identify universities with the academics, the campus, the high quality of sports you put on a national platform. People pay attention. They know basketball far. They know our basketball far and wide. Football is the national sport in many ways. We've got to compete. So sounds like UConn's going to keep giving it a run, but they're going to have a lot to turn around. But as far as a story that was kind of out there, I'm like, maybe they move, maybe they go down, all that. It looks like UConn's going to keep fighting and try to stay at the top level.
Well, good luck to UConn.
Yeah,
hope it works out for you.
Basketball season's almost here. That's the good news, and that will be a success for them, as it usually is, I would imagine. But there's a few stories that are off the radar.
Thank you very much, Craig. When we come back, we'll hear from, I just went blank.
Dean Blevins.
Dean Blevins, former Oklahoma quarterback. He's in the media, television, radio. He hosts the show on Sunday evenings on Bally Sports, formerly Fox Sports Southwest, with Lincoln Riley. His thoughts about Caleb Williams and Spencer Rattler in Oklahoma's win against Texas this past weekend and the Sooners going forward. Sick 'em. 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Some bad news. Computer chip shortages have negatively affected all vehicle inventory worldwide, but the good news is General Motors has announced they are restarting production and will release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Cars and trucks are coming, and so now is the time to contact Richard Carr and get your name on a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac as they are being shipped. Get your name on the first-in-line priority list so you can get your car or truck first as they arrive. And when it comes to choosing from the lineup of vehicles, well, if you need a pickup, How about a Sierra from Richard Carr? An ideal combination of power and strength, refinement and luxury. Sierra's the best truck on the road. If you want a roomy SUV, consider the Buick lineup of SUVs, which offer various sizes and versatility to fit every lifestyle. Or perhaps you're looking for a combination of sophistication and power. We'll look no further than a new Cadillac XT6 or the Escalade. Cars and trucks are coming, so call or contact Richard Carr online with what you want and let Richard Carr get you on their first in line priority list today and get your vehicle before anyone else. And in terms of new cars, obviously the pickings are slim, but if you're looking to save and drive today, Richard Carr is loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks, each of them going through a 172-point inspection before hitting the lot. And when dozens of lenders, Richard Carr says yes when others say no, because 100% credit approval is always the goal. So go online or come by for a test drive today. And for those in the Waco area, Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership, so give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, superior service after the sale, and free oil changes on new cars and trucks. Richard Carr Motors, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion. And I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Come back with Lane, and there goes Abram Smith to the house. Touchdown, Baylor Bears.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour. Dean Blevins, former Oklahoma quarterback. He also lettered at the same time in basketball, part of News 9 in Oklahoma City, and also is the one that hosts a show every weekend with Lincoln Riley. I watched it on Sunday evening and part of his own talk show right after this on the Sports Animal. Dean, thanks for your time. We appreciate that. Lincoln Riley, I believe today, mentioned that he had given Spencer Rattler the day off yesterday. Was that just to help him clear his head, or is that something that makes sense to you?
You know, when first of all, it's good to be with you guys. I know there's a lot of excitement around there as well as there is here, especially after Oklahoma just got the commitment of a fabulous defensive lineman here a few minutes ago in Brownlow Dindy. But in terms of his handling of Rattler, it makes sense to me, and looking back on it, I know Lincoln extremely well, and the words that his assistant coaches told me when he took over as the head coach, I asked every one of them that had been with him for a long time, I said, tell me about him. And they all started with the same thing. They said, brilliant. And they said, no, I don't mean just brilliant, just beyond brilliant. And it's one thing to be brilliant, but it's another to be practical about it. And I think Lincoln Riley has a tremendous ability to communicate to kids of this age, but at the same time draw up plays that nobody else is drawing up. And so I think this was an example of, I hadn't thought of it, but heck, why not? Give him a day off. You know the kid's in turmoil, and you know that they will have had a lengthy meeting to discuss his options, which he said today made a lot of sense for a quarterback to stick around, because what are you going to do? Go somewhere else and not be able to do anything? I think Lincoln would expect him to transfer after the year, assuming he doesn't go to the NFL. But I think it makes a lot of sense. And I imagine this is going to be a very tough, on the outside, at least looking in, it seems to be a very tough challenge for Lincoln and those quarterbacks. But if anybody can make it a smooth transition, it'll be Lincoln, and I bet he does.
Is it now Caleb Williams' job to lose?
Yeah. No, there's no decision. You know, that decision was made on the football field, and I don't know if you guys had a chance to see the reactions from teammates, not to mention the fans, but the Caleb Williams confidence that the teammates have in him, the affability, the respect they have for him. I'm not going to jump on here today and start bashing Spencer Rattler, but I will say that I've challenged him all this season for not being the typical quarterback leader that you normally have. And I put it on lack of leadership on both sides of the Oklahoma football for not having them play with any type of edge that you guys know you've got to play with. And because you don't have that leadership, it was more selfish, frankly, from Spencer than it needed to be, as teammates saw that, and all of a sudden they got this young, fresh kid here who is an absolute phenom that lifts all boats. And the change in the crowd reaction, you know, I've been to that game or played in it or reported on it for 49 years, and I've never seen either side in orange or red, crimson, respond the way that crowd did. And that's what lifted that defense and offense, but mostly defensive performance in that second half. I think now the momentum The confidence they have with a new popular guy will help them fill that void that was there with the lack of appropriate leadership under Spencer Rattler. And I think that will be a motivating factor that will put them playing with an edge that at least gives them a chance to make a run.
Dean, as you mentioned, you've had a lot of history with the Red River rivalry over the years, but just how insane was that game on Saturday in terms of all the classics that you've seen? I mean, where does that one rank in sort of the immediate aftermath?
Well, I don't like this, latest is the greatest. And so, I'm an old fuddy-duddy, and I like to go back and talk about the 60s and 70s and 80s. But it was phenomenal. It was just an unbelievable scene. Of course, when your team wins, it's always going to be the greatest game ever. I mean, Texas people would tell you it's the worst ever. But it tops last year, which was a 4-overtime thriller. And I think it's as good a game in that rivalry as I've ever seen, because Oklahoma was on the ropes. And I'll take you back to 4th and 1, Caleb Williams' first play in that game. Everyone's jaw dropped when Lincoln ran him out there, and it's 4th and 1 on about their own 35. And so down 21, and he makes that play. If he doesn't make the first down there, the game's over. And there was actually a bust on the play. 2 guys were in the gap, the free defender and the one who beat OU's blocking. He had to make 2 guys miss him just to pick up the first down. And so that's what ignited the thing. And then his popularity and just sensational ability got the crowd to a level that we can sit here now and say that, that was probably the greatest ever for sure in the OU Texas series.
I watched that play probably 100 times. I still have no idea how Texas didn't stop him. I mean, just an incredible job by Caleb Williams, Yeah.
Well, he does that routinely. I've got a buddy. Well, it's Jim Donnan. You guys know of Jim Donnan. He was the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma under Coach Switzer for a while, and then went on, of course, was at Georgia. He still lives down there. Jim's a great guy, and he calls it like it is. He told me 2 or 3 weeks ago that he showed me a tweet that he had put out that said that he predicted that Caleb Williams would take over this job sometime this season, which is stunning. But what led him to tweet that was that he had seen him in camp, and he said of all of the quarterbacks he's ever seen or worked with in camps, Caleb Williams is the second best he's ever seen. And he was talking about Stafford that did go to Georgia as the greatest. So that's the type of player we're talking about. But it's more than player, guys. Spencer Rattler was the Heisman favorite, preseason All-American, projected #1 guy, because he has pure talent. And this kid is able to come along as a true freshman and beat him out. It's unbelievable. That's how good he is.
It really is. It's an incredible story. And the fact that it doesn't seem like anything forced him to blink whatsoever. That game, obviously, Oklahoma, there's been warts because of they didn't win by enough here. They didn't do this and that. They also are missing the big play, and that is something that Caleb Williams has brought to the table, not only with his legs, but also with passes, whether it's Mims or Kennedy Brooks getting now open in the running game. How much is that factored into this as well, Dean?
Well, it's massive because, the Oklahoma, since Stoops got here, has been an explosive team, and I'm sure your listeners know that means 20 yards or more. Some people define it as 15, some at 25. It's basically 20 yards or more. Oklahoma may have had more explosive plays in the past couple of decades than anyone, certainly since Lincoln Riley's been at Oklahoma. That's a staple. And it was crazy watching this offense perform, and whether it was the offensive line or bust or whatever, they weren't making any explosive plays. And you have to do it if you want to, especially when your defense is a little banged up and not playing anywhere close to what we thought they might. We thought they would. So I'm completely with you. I not only did you have explosive plays in the pass game, you had them in the run game, and then you have the quarterback making them in the run game. So I think that will increase remarkably, and it'll be a big deal.
Dean, would it be fair to say that if Spencer Rattler is ever going to start at quarterback at Oklahoma again, he would have to maybe do as much work on his interpersonal relationships with a team as he would on the field and getting better, and that maybe Caleb Williams can reach them on their level, maybe a little bit better?
I think that's a great question, and I would agree with it, but I'll play devil's advocate and just say that the only way I see him playing again is if Caleb gets hurt or situationally it's just something that has to happen. Now, if he has this great attitude and things turn 180 degrees around, and you know what I'm saying, 180 degrees around with what you're talking about, then, he'll be available and could do that because he's phenomenal at some things. But, I was the starting quarterback at Oklahoma, got hurt before the Texas game, lost my job, but I still was able to keep a great attitude for winning all the sprints in every practice and all that, just to keep a good attitude. And I ended up making really big game-deciding plays in 2 or 3 games the rest of my career. Not to pat myself on the back. This is to tell you what Rattler needs to do and what they expect him to do. And the question is exactly as you phrased it. Can he do those things to allow himself a chance to get back on the field?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. It's one thing to say it, one thing to maybe even agree to, it's one thing, but it's a physical game. I hope nothing ever happens to Caleb Williams, but you never know about that as well. So you also lettered in basketball. Baylor's had a few guys go basketball to football, which is a crazy transition. But you did both, and that's so rare these days. How difficult was that on your juggling your time?
It was unbelievable. I had to carve out some social time, of course. So when you start looking at a day in the life of, that social time was going to be there. But other than that, every minute was consumed basically with sports. I would make some school to be eligible. I actually had a 4-point that semester, but I would make sure and get school done. But it was incredible. I would be in the football room as a backup at that time to Steve Davis on our national championships teams in 74, 75. This was the 74, 75 basketball season. So I'd be in meetings all day until the basketball practice would begin at 2:30. Go over for 3 hours and practice until, say, 5:15, jump on a bike, and then go to the football practice, jump in the shower to wake it off. I mean, that basketball practices are hard. And I would walk down the ramp with teammates after having done all that to go out on the field. And back then, you had 1 million players and no time constraints, and Switzer would work us for 3 or 4 hours. So I was doing 7 hours a day. It was incredibly difficult. And what made it more challenging for me, for what it's worth, I was playing at a football weight that Switzer pumped me up to as a freshman to play wishbone quarterback. That was about 20, 25 pounds heavier than what I needed to be in basketball. So that kept me from reaching my goals. But he comes to me the next year and says, "Hey, I know I told you and your family you could play basketball, but you got to quit. If you do, you'll be my starting quarterback. And as much as I love basketball, you certainly couldn't turn that down."
Yeah, no question about it. And playing for Switzer, we've had him on numerous times. What a
oh, good.
Oh my
good.
God!
We need to have Dean on just to talk Barry Switzer for over 30 minutes.
We could do that because we're on the internet as well, Dean. So you could say whatever you want because he sure does.
We could do one of those roundtables with a bunch of XOU players and just tell us your favorite Barry stories. Yeah,
I know you got.
I'll tell you this: no one has been with him anymore. Well, I'll just say I've been with him a ton, including his years in Dallas when I was down there hosting Jerry Jones shows and all that. And so I was riding around on team buses and all this. I was on the inside. And some of them I may not be able to tell, but Coach and I have had a unique relationship, which was very, very strange when Thomas Lott came in and took my position through injury. And so it was lively. It was lively, but I'm glad someone in Texas has Barry Switzer on so you can see who the guy is.
Oh, no. And I always enjoyed him. We've had him on many, many times. Great stories that we've told about him and what he's done to give back as well. Dean, I know you got to do your show, and we'll definitely get you on again to just talk Barry Switzer, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You guys sound great. Call me anytime. I'd love to help.
Yes, sir. That's Dean Blevins, former Oklahoma quarterback and also now News 9, and has his own talk show on the Sports Animal and does host the Lincoln Riley Weekly Show on Sunday evenings. I watched the one Sunday. It was, of course, amazing the way that comeback happened Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible, and, I'm very curious to see what happens with Spencer Rattler. I mean, just general consensus feels like he's probably going to, go somewhere else or go to the NFL. But, just hopefully if that's the case, then Caleb Williams stays healthy. I mean, he seems to be the guy now. And, there's always been something just kind of off about Rattler in comparison to the run that they had. Now, granted, it's a little unfair to compare him to Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield and who am I missing?
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. Those guys had all been under different circumstances. I mean, they came from other programs. Their early years were all at different schools, and in the case of a Hurts especially, I mean, he had a full career at Alabama, so it was going to be a little bit different when you had a true freshman quarterback for the first time in quite some time. But like I said, he just rubbed people the wrong way in some cases, and he kind of rubbed me the wrong way, honestly, in some ways. I just couldn't find myself getting behind him and as invested in him as I have been able to do with various other players with no problem. And there's just something that I just can't be fully on board, and I don't know, maybe others feel that too, maybe players feel that, I don't know, but I'm not surprised I'm surprised we are where we are, where a 5-star quarterback's been benched 2 years in a row in a big rivalry game, and this true freshman comes in and saves the day. All of that's insane. But Spencer Rattler not panning out into a Heisman Trophy winner, no, that does not shock me.
Well, and a couple things here. I think it would be very wise of him in the long run to stay and be the backup and take some lumps. I know that that's not reality in college football necessarily, that when you decide to leave, you leave because you're not going to be there anymore. But I think it would behoove him personally, not even the University of Oklahoma. I mean, I don't think that even about the team. I think it would behoove him to kind of sit back and learn and then see, where you went awry. I think that would be good for the next team he's going to be on, whether that's another college team, which now seems really likely because I would not go in the draft if I was him, with what you put on tape this season. And the NFL scouts, Smokey, you say it all the time, they know if you farted in third grade in the middle of a spelling bee, they'll bring that up. They just know it. They know the whole thing. So it's not he just needs to do a little bit of work on that. And look, I think there's tons of history behind there's quarterbacks. I'm sure you could go into stories where one guy, maybe he's the best option overall for the team, but he cannot win the hearts of the team, and eventually you got to switch to the other guy because the team likes him.
You know what's interesting is even though there were so many that clamored, remember last year's situation at Baylor? It was awful, toxic. The quarterback with Charlie not playing well, the offense doing nothing. Dave Aranda admitted this to me earlier this year. One of the reasons he stayed with Charlie was because he was worried about the locker room, that they all basically wanted Charlie to remain the quarterback. That doesn't mean there were some that didn't think that others could have been better, but it was one of the reasons why he stuck with Charlie, even though it made at times you're like, why is he not trying to make a move here?
Man,
but he did that.
Banging my head against the wall at times last year of just do something different. But in hindsight, I'm glad that he didn't throw Gary Bohannon out there.
Yeah, and look where Gary is now. Fresh mind, no football PTSD, at least yet. You hope he never does have that. That was so insightful.
Yeah.
Here's Dean Blevins, who's getting a read on inside not just the Oklahoma locker room, but the decision by by Lincoln Riley to give Rattler a chance to breathe for one day.
I do have a piece of Cowboys news here to pass along. It was a little bit of an update as my computer just goes completely blank. But Lyle Collins, it looks like a judge has ruled on his case, and the emergency motion that he filed for, it's been tossed out by the judge in the U.S. District Court, denied by the judge. So Lyle Collins will not play on Sunday versus New England, but he will be activated next week. So just to follow up on that story.
There's another example. They have Lyle Collins out. There's DeMarcus Lawrence is out. There's somebody else out. The Cowboys, they're free of a lot of the egos. That doesn't mean there's not some. They are playing like you see there's a little chemistry there. Then you can see them play that way. It's free of all the drama, and that's what they've been filled with for forever.
Actually, the thing that makes me the most nervous is that Mike McCarthy or Bones Fossil is going to call some crazy fake in the playoffs, and that's why they're going to lose. Yeah. Not because of their ability. They've actually built a pretty solid team here. By the way, another NFL note here on the Washington football team's investigation. This is from John Keim. This is from Lisa Banks and Deborah Katz, attorneys for former Washington football team employees calling on the NFL to release the findings of the full thing. It is truly outrageous that if the NFL's 10-month-long investigation involving hundreds of witnesses and 650,000 documents related to the long-time culture of harassment and abuse at the Washington football team, the only person to be held accountable and lose their job is the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders.
If
the NFL felt If the NFL, this is pretty good. If the NFL felt appropriate to release these offensive emails from John Gruden, which it obtained during its investigation of the Washington football team, it must also release findings related to the actual target of that investigation. Our clients and the public at large deserve transparency and accountability. If not, the NFL and Roger Goodell must explain why they appear intent on protecting Washington football team and owner Dan Snyder at all costs.
That's like the NCAA is furious with some blue bloods, so they're going to put Stephen F. Austin on probation. That's kind of like the same analogy right there.
You know what I thought of, and this is a very Washington thing to do, but I thought of the Starr investigation, the Starr report involving President Clinton, which was, let's investigate a dirty land deal in Arkansas, and then what they came up with was
bodies.
The president had an intern, and that was inappropriate. Yeah. I mean, that's what they came up with. And they was like, well, what about the real estate deal? Well, that turns out that's a little harder to figure out. But we know that this girl was in here, and then he told her not to say anything. So let's talk about that.
When we come back, great insight from Dean Blevins. And I actually had contacted him prior to all of what's gone on, of course. This was after the game Saturday. And the insight of what Lincoln Riley did with Spencer Rattler and the way he mentioned it makes sense. And what did someone say? It was brilliant the way he had it.
I still can't believe they won that football game. I really can't. I mean, I know 21-point comebacks and whatnot are not like completely uncommon in college football, you know, especially when they're at the end of the first quarter. But I'm just amazed that they pulled off that comeback. I really am.
It was one of the most incredible weekends of college football, and it just got better and better and better. Even though you can't talk that. Okay, let's go to College Station, number one Alabama, getting knocked off by A&M and a quarterback who came out of the injury tent. When we come back, we'll continue 524, Sikkim 365 Radio. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans, Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne. They have a 48-foot walk-in humidor filled with the elite brands of cigars around the world. I could read off the list that I have, but I'll also say this. Macanudo, Ashton, Artur Fuente, Cohiba, Rocky Patel, Padron, all of them, the best brands of cigars. The what was 2 years ago the number one cigar in the world, the Cuatro Nicaragua from Aging Room. They have them. They have coffee beans, fresh ground coffee beans. One of the most popular flavors is the Cowboy. Ask Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne about it. And the CBD products, for example, VitaDreams. If, in fact, you struggle going to sleep at night and you just need a little help, VitaDreams is there, and they can. You think about how much time you must waste if you have some sleep issues for whatever reason. It might be because of your diet. It might be because of things on your mind. How many minutes do you lose when you toss and turn? VitaDreams can help you maybe with 30 minutes or 45 minutes or maybe an hour and a half that allows you to fall asleep a lot easier and more comfortably, and you wake up and, my God, you had a restful night's sleep. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans, Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne. Tell them Smokey sent you in the Talwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Masters of barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's Margaritas and Mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
He's a Hall of Fame writer, covers the Texans, Baylor alum, Waco legend, icon. John McClain, Houston Chronicle, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. John, thank you, sir. What's the what did John Gruden? He's gone. We know that. How is he the only one right now that is toxic among all the emails Washington apparently or the NFL investigated?
Well, let me point out the Astros are winning 10-1 in the bottom of the ninth after Altuve just did a 3-run homer, so they must be cheating, right?
Yeah.
That idiot White Sox pitcher from Houston will go down as one of the all-time boneheads for stirring a hornet's nest with no proof. And the Astros will act like that had nothing to do with it, but I'll guarantee you they had a meeting beforehand, and they said, let's wrap this up here so nobody will accuse them of cheating. Now they'll play the Red Sox, and the Red Sox can't call them cheaters, considering they've been caught for cheating. And so it should be a great American League Championship Series between the Astros and the Red Sox, the World Series chance in 17-18. As far as John Gruden, somebody in the NFL had it in for him. They took an investigation of the Washington football team because of a toxic workplace, and there were no repercussions as far as any Dan Snyder being forced to sell or any prominent person being fired. And Gruden got caught in the fallout because of all those emails he sent from his private email account to Bruce Allen's Redskins account. And so in that investigation of Bruce Allen, they found it, and somebody wanted Gruden gone really bad, and he's gone, and he should be gone. But I think it's just ridiculous. Out of 650,000 emails, only the ones that got Gruden have been leaked from the NFL to the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times.
Yeah, John, it would seem to me the odds of that being the only thing that's in there would be very low.
Oh, Paul, there's all kinds of things in there. That's, if somebody at the league office wants to get somebody, they can probably get them. I'm not saying every team's involved. This was involving the Redskins. I wonder if there's any correspondence between Jerry Jones and Dan Snyder. And but I'll guarantee you there's a lot of owners that are worried if they had any communication with the Redskins during that period. I'm guessing there's not a lot because Snyder's so unpopular. It's not like anybody offered him a lot of support. And even they did, as long as they didn't use racist, homophobic, or misogynistic comments, you know, it's fine. Somebody said Roger Goodell wanted him to go because of all the things he said about him. If Goodell got rid of everybody that says bad things about him, half the league would be gone.
That's fair. It's a very fair point, John. Absolutely. Well, as you mentioned, like they had the reasons for the decision that they made. I don't think anybody's really arguing, you know, what he said and why it was so bad. But just how shocking is this, John, just in terms of the story itself? I mean, the big grand return of Gruden to the Raiders organization, the big shiny new stadium, they got off to a good start. I mean, and then to just be out before the halfway mark of the season. I mean, I don't know. I'm still kind of amazed that this story broke the way that it did. Do you have anything even comparable that you can think of?
No, it was leaked by the league office by someone who wanted to get rid of Gruden. And I'll guarantee you those things don't get leaked without Roger Goodell knowing it, because he could do an internal investigation of emails, text messages, everything, and find out who was doing it. So it's a sordid episode in the NFL's history. It's not the only one, and it won't be the only one. And as far as the fallout from this, Mark Maskey from the Washington Post, who's very connected with the league, had a story today. Nothing else would be coming out. And their union's going to try to get the league to disclose those 650,000 emails. And I'm like, yeah, right. I'm sure they're going to do that.
John,
right now, the NFL, this doesn't get a lot of attention. They're being sued by St. Louis. And a court has ruled that owner Stan Kroenke, as well as other owners like Jerry Jones, are going to have to open their books to them. And those guys don't want to do it, of course. And so now they're wondering if all of a sudden, and Kroenke has told the league it will indemnify the owner of any money that goes into it. But there's people wondering if St. Louis will be promised an expansion team to keep them from exposing a lot of things from a lot of owners.
They still have the dome there, right? The football stadium?
Yeah, the problem is that I don't know if they've torn it down, but they wanted a new stadium, and they were having a problem getting the stadium they wanted. And Kroenke didn't want to stay there. There was talk about an open-air stadium on an edge of downtown. He wanted to go to L.A., and, he's paid for his own stadium, the entire complex around there, which is a commercial, residential deal. The whole thing, I think, is costing him about $8 billion. And, he'll be dead before the money starts coming back from it. But it's a very ambitious project, and that was not anything St. Louis wanted to get involved with.
You mentioned owners and Jerry and all that, whatever, that connect the dots. How many of those 32 owners, we saw what happened to Jerry Richardson. How many of the 32 owners, in your opinion, are untouchable? No matter, even let's say they find something involving emails between Snyder, Jones, Jerry, and whoever, and I'm just using this hypothetically. Could he survive that?
You can't force a guy to sell. Jerry Richardson sold before it mushroomed into an even bigger deal. Plus, he was in his early 80s when it happened, and that was a Sports Illustrated investigation about him and women and the workplace environment that he had. And I'll guarantee you, if the league tried to force an owner to sell, they'd have so many lawsuits directed at them, and they protect their own. And, there's some of them that are not popular, but all of them got stuff on each other, so they will always try to protect their own. I think that it's like Dan Snyder. It's not blowing back on him. People think he was suspended, and he said he would turn it over to his wife for a year while he handled something else, like they're not going to talk about the team every day, and which is such a joke. But they were fined, I think, $10 million, something like that. That's tip money to a multi-billionaire. So I don't think any owner could ever be forced to sell.
John, to the Texans now, and Davis Mills, I know that they lost again, but has the opinion changed about him after his pretty solid performance against the Patriots?
It was beyond pretty solid. He had the best performance against Bill Belichick in history by a rookie quarterback by a long shot. He was 21 of 29, 72%, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers, and a rating of 141. Only 3 times in Deshaun Watson's 4 years did he have a better rating than that. He also had touchdowns dropped in the end zone, so he should have had 4. And if not for some boneheaded decisions by Coach David Culley, they would have won that game. But they just gave it away. And but he played great. And the truth is, it was perfect. He played great, and they lost. What else could you ask for?
John, there's only one unbeaten team still remaining in the NFL, but where do you put the Dallas Cowboys in terms of teams you are most impressed by at this point?
Because I have a bunch of teams ahead of them, I have them in the top 10. But the guys that I have ahead of them, they beat the Giants. Giants are awful.
Right.
And their best win, I believe, who beat the Cowboys anyway? I can't remember.
Bucks.
The Bucks did. And they could have won that game, and they beat the Chargers. So, there's a lot of good teams in the top 10. All of them have one loss, and it'll play out. But as I told you guys since before training camp, I expect the Cowboys to run away with the division as long as Dak Prescott stays healthy, and he's playing great, and they should run away with the division. Then the key is, can they win at home and then go on the road and win the second round? Or can they compete for home field advantage? The division's terrible. They should sweep that division. And they've got a chance to compete for home field advantage. I don't think ultimately Arizona will get it.
John, I'm sure you saw the Spencer Rattler situation on Saturday. Got benched in the Texas game for the second year in a row. Caleb Williams comes in and leads an all-timer of a comeback. In terms of the NFL and how they will view Rattler, I mean, a lot will obviously depend on whether or not he stays in school for another year and transfers or whatever the case may be. But as of right now, how do you think NFL executives, owners, what have you, would view Spencer Rattler?
Well, first of all, what a quarterback does in college has little to do with where he's drafted. Unfortunately, they spend way too much time watching him in shorts and T-shirts. But he is so discombobulated, he's got to transfer and go somewhere where he has a chance to start. and then worry about coming back in the draft in 2023 or even 2024. It just didn't work out. And, I don't see him staying there a year like Jalen Hurts before he transfers. He needs to go. It's obvious they're not going to stick with him. He's just having a bad season. He's got plenty of time, at least 2 years, maybe 3, if he redshirted before he can come out if he wants to. Astros just won 10-1.
Yep, just wrapped it up. Altuve got plunked early. Crowd was going nuts. He ends up hitting a 3-run homer. It's a nasty series. You wonder if they linger on the field or if the White Sox just tuck their tail and move on.
Yeah, John, we didn't get to see it, but I've heard that Tony La Russa straight lost his mind about Jose Abreu getting hit or whatever by Kendall Graveman, and that he's he's done this all year where he's gone super old school when he didn't need to. What happened today with Tony La Russa?
Well, it was a 3-2 pitch, and he hit him. And when he hit him, Graveman put his head down and shook it like, nobody hits somebody on a 3-2 pitch in which you're going to put a guy on base. Abreu didn't complain about it. And when he got down to first base, he had a casual conversation with Yuli Gurriel. But La Russa, as they said on TV, he was trying to fire up the fans. He's trying to fire up his team, which at the time they were down 7-1 before Altuve's 3-1 homer. So there was method to his madness. I mean, what else was he going to do? They just got stomped. I can't wait to see if that pitcher accused him of cheating from Houston has the baseballs to stand up there and answer questions now.
Yeah, he needs to. It's 5 years straight. 5 consecutive years the Astros have been in the American League Championship Series.
I think it's the only third team in history to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a dynasty type thing. I know they've won it once, right? Been a part of it. The Dodgers series, of course, was amazing.
That's the good news is they're not the Buffalo Bills, where they get close and then don't do it. They actually already have a title, so that's a good thing. John, I got to ask.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to one more stat. Mike George is listening to us. He's not paying attention to us because he's watching the Astros. One of only 3 franchises to accomplish the feat. There may have been 1 or 2 others that did it more than once, but thanks for the note, Mike George. Craig?
Okay, John, your Baylor Bears 5-1 now. Had the rough game a couple weeks ago in Oklahoma or against Oklahoma State, but Dave Aranda talked about looking in the mirror a little bit and revamping, regrouping, and they certainly did that against West Virginia. Your thoughts as they now get close to bowl eligibility in the midway point of the season?
The turnaround, Gary Buchanan is one of the best I've ever seen. I didn't have any confidence he's going to be doing this. I thought, why in the world can't they get a transfer quarterback in there like SMU did with Mordecai? Jeff Grimes has done a tremendous job. Who's coaching the quarterbacks this year for the first time?
Sean Bell.
Sean Bell's done a tremendous job, and he has just been tremendous. The fact that he's not throwing interceptions, that's amazing. He's running less, staying in the pocket more. He has become a legitimate quarterback, and those coaches deserve a whole lot of credit, and I'm so proud of them, and I can't wait to see him play BYU. Big game for Grimes, future rivalry in the Big 12 when Brigham Young comes in. I can't wait to see.
Were you at the games in 83 or 84?
When they played Steve Young, I saw him in Waco.
Yeah, that was a shootout
1983,
game.
One of the best games I've ever seen before he went to the USFL, then the Buccaneers, and then got traded to the 49ers.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Take them.
That's John McClain, Houston Chronicle, 83 with Steve Young with like 40-36 Baylor. Irvin Randall, I mentioned, had a bunch of tackles in that game. He's going to join us tomorrow to flash back to that 83 Brigham Young Baylor game.
I like that John's always been a guy where you can talk about more than just like the beat that he's on.
Yep.
And thank God this year that's the case because there's not a whole lot to talk about with the Texans, but I still love that he just like blew them off entirely. It was just like, yeah, whatever, let's talk about something else.
Yeah, I'm watching the video of Altuve getting hit in the left bicep. Then, of course, come back. Graveman hit somebody, as you mentioned, Paul, and La Russa. The Astros fans were cheering and going nuts.
The White Sox need to get rid of him. They have a
really
won the
good
division. But he's not. He's just so old and cranky. He's not helping them.
Well, Major League Baseball's in a lot of ways is like the NBA filled with retreads. And I know he's old, and you're right. But the guy he wins.
Okay, with the roster that they have, with Lance Lynn and Giolito and Rodon, and
they
the way
won the
they're pitching,
division, and they lost
Robert
to a team
and Eloy
that's
Jimenez.
Paul. They won the division, had a
I
great
know.
record. They blew everybody away, and they lost to one hell of a red hot team.
Yes,
and a good team.
Yeah, they're
It's being fifth consecutive year in the. I get what you're saying that maybe they should go to the next step. Believe me, the White Sox fans probably agree with you. Tony La Russa probably agrees with you, but the Astros, man,
the Astros are fantastic.
But to his point, if it's not the results, it's the manner in which they're being done. Like there does come a point where you're like, okay, he's enough of a pest now or an annoyance because of his behavior.
If he becomes an issue because of anything outside of his managerial skills, which I'm sure are really good, if it's stuff that happens that is a distraction, yes. But they won the division by 20 games or whatever.
Well, he had the whole thing in the middle of the year where his team kind of almost turned on him because they're like, we don't want to. We're not going to plunk guys because you tell us to plunk them anymore.
No, I agree. And you know what? Who makes this decision? The players do.
Yeah.
Just like the NFL wanted the Raiders, probably players, to make the decision. Eventually, it had to be the owner and John Gruden who did, with all the stuff we talked about at the start of the show today. 5:47 is the time. We'll have Paul's top five in a minute. We've had a couple of suggestions, Paul, on the chat room about the top five. I think one of them, let's see, maybe this is from Chris, could do a top five football entrances for the Big 12. I know the Sooners have the Schooner. Texas has Bevo running. But does Baylor have a Bear run in? No, they're not allowed to use.
Well, no, but it's still the Baylor line. It's pretty cool.
When it's filled, when it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of like thousands of students, but it always seems to like die off as the year goes on.
Yeah. Hey, appreciate the idea, and maybe Paul will work on that a little bit.
The Buffalo in Colorado, I like that one.
Yeah, that was
that one
cool.
is unbelievable. I hate Colorado football because it's a Nebraska rival.
Number one happens in the greatest city in America.
You have that Indian on a horse that throws the spear, right?
Chief Osceola.
Yeah. That's pretty intimidating. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome. What's the horse's name?
Renegade.
Renegade, yeah.
Renegade. How is that the original horse?
No, I think they've gone through
a 475-year-old horse.
Wasn't that in the Lone Ranger?
I think the horse. You'd see the horse is kind of a sway back by this point. Appaloosa is beautiful animals, though.
No, it is. Horses are, to me. We always have the argument with sometimes callers about whether a horse is an athlete, like is Secretariat an athlete?
We don't sometimes, very rarely, but there has been that conversation before. You're right. Yeah, and that's, I guess it's just your prerogative.
Because I know a jockey can make a difference just like a driver in a car, but if the car's not any good, it doesn't matter if you're Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, the late Dale Earnhardt, or whoever you are, Jeff Gordon, right?
Yeah. Oh, you got to be a good driver. You can't, the car... The pit crew is
but it doesn't matter who the driver is if the car breaks down, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so
the pit crew.
A car is an athlete, too, is what you're saying.
No, the pit crew.
Okay.
The pit crew.
The pit crew is amazing. All right, Astros win it. They dominate 10-1. They win the series 3-1. Red Sox and the Astros start on Friday at Minute Maid. Ought to be one hell of a series, you would think. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. Thank you, Genco. And don't forget, your vote counts. Vote today for your local school to win $1,500 with Genco's School Spirit Competition. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. When you contact people about insurance, and people are hit up with it all the time, what do you tell them? What do you say? I know you say you educate, but Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is obviously successful for a lot of different reasons. And has hundreds of thousands.
It's personal service. Okay. It's one-on-one service. Just yesterday, went to a client's house, met with the couple, went over all the coverages, and they said, wow, we've, never had this before. We've had this this different insurance and that different insurance, but we've never had somebody actually come to the house and go over everything with us. And wow, we really appreciate that, especially this day and time where it's just a click of a button and you really don't know who you're dealing with. It's a different person you call every time you call that 800 number. You don't know who your agent is. Now they have a face with the name, and it's more personal service.
Grant Dittiker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dittiker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
All right, top 5 things teams should do in college football. Some of these might be controversial, some of them might not be. I'm curious to see how you guys react to some of these. Number 5. Pete Thamel got me thinking about this yesterday. Number 5. Texas Tech should evaluate their athletic director. And I say this, and Kirby Hocutt is a very out there athletic director. He's very out in front. He made a great basketball hire and then, of course, lost it to Texas. That happens at Texas Tech. But he has not made a great football hire. And that's what drives the ship. And, he was, maybe a little too talkative during the expansion thing for a little bit, but now that's passed. But I think that Texas Tech needs to evaluate top down what they're doing in their athletic department.
All right. Yeah, he's
I'm not saying fire him, but I'm just saying.
I think sometimes during the Big 12 realignment, I know some Texas Tech fans got a little bit their panties in a wad when I really think that there were a couple of times when he was out there with the Big 12 was trying to get things done where he spoke out, and I think Bob Bowlesby would have wished that he would have not said much, but he was Miami, right? Mm-hmm. He was part of the college football playoff committee, right? Mm-hmm. A spokesperson. Okay.
Well, he's 0 for 2 on head coaches. Yeah. He hired Kingsbury, and that didn't work out. That was the big, hey, the former player coming back to save the day, and now Cliff's having a way better time in the NFL with the only unbeaten team in the league and a star quarterback in Kyler Murray. So that worked out well for Kingsbury in the long run. But, yeah, he fired Cliff and hired Cliff, fired Cliff, and then, brought on Matt Wells. And, Matt Wells is just not the guy. He's just not. I don't think there's any Tech fan that probably believes that he is. He seems like a nice dude and all of that, but, it's business, and right now they're not taking care of business on the football field. So, yeah, I mean, Hokut's obviously got a lot of influence across, college athletics because of everything that you guys mentioned. But, he needs to reevaluate his choices for head football coach, certainly.
Yeah. Number 4, and I've said this before, USC should avoid a splash hire. They should think of it like Olympic diving. No splash means you did it cleanly.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome when find out that like a former Full House castmate had like lied about their resume or something like that. A whole academic, bring the academic, have a false resume for the new head coach at USC or something. No, I mean, you would like to think so, right? But there's some people in charge at some certain places that they can't help themselves. I don't know if that's the case at USC anymore or not, but I know it has been in the past to an extent for many programs out there. And, I mean, when you hit, it's huge. But
Clay Helton, was he a splash?
No. That was more of a – I'm not saying him in particular. I'm saying programs in general have made –
I think they should avoid a splash hire to counteract the fact that they didn't make one before. I think sometimes with that you go too far in the wrong direction and hire somebody for what Dave Aranda said of who they are and not what they do.
But what if that splash hires like Chris Peterson?
Maybe, but I still don't. I think he's going to ride his boat.
Probably. I'm just saying if there's like a coach of that caliber out there, I don't know. I mean, that would be a splash, yes, but yeah, I'm with you. They don't need to go like crazy with this, and they need to obviously make a good decision because they could ill afford to keep the losing ways up.
From Tony Altomar, yes, no splash hire. He knows all about what's going on at USC. Tony, thank you.
Yeah. Number 3, LSU should move on from Coach O, and I'm going to add something to this and hire Billy Napier.
Okay.
I think they should hire Billy Napier to replace Coach O.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Billy Napier seems like he would be right up the alley for that job. My only hesitance is I just don't know enough about him off the field. Like, I'm not saying there's anything, but just like I don't know like his history or anything like that really. But yeah, I mean, from a connection standpoint and success standpoint and all that, like I mean, Billy Napier would make a lot of sense. So I don't know about that part of it, but I absolutely do think LSU should move on from Orgeron.
We'll have Mike Scarborough. We were going to have him today, but it never was able to knock that down. But I guarantee this is what he had told me. He mentioned Chip Kelly. No, he mentioned. Yeah, I think was it Brian Kelly, Notre Dame? He mentioned Fickle at Cincinnati, which I know that'll get the Cincinnati fans riled up. I'm just saying that's a compliment.
Well, he's going to be brought up for every big job there is. I mean, that's just you better get used to that.
There was a name or two. I mean, he called me over the weekend and he asked me about Aranda because he's not leaving. I will tell you this right now. I will not do the show if he's not the head coach. God, should I do that?
No, you shouldn't. Maybe just for a day.
You guys would love it.
Okay, just for a day.
I'll miss the first show after the first game next year if Aranda's not the head coach at Baylor next year. I saw a player's parent who's committed to Baylor say it's time for them to extend his contract. Let's wait on that. Yeah. I mean, that'd be great, but let's kind of remember. Don't
Schools
get over
do that
your
too
skis.
much.
Yeah, there's definitely a problem you can run into when you do that. I think the great thing about Aranda is I don't really have much of any fear of like some like giant skeleton leaping from the closet and be like, what in the? I've been fooled before, obviously, but he just seems like a salt of the earth type of dude.
I would think though, like if he was. Catholics, when we're kids, we have to go to like confession, and you go and you sit and you tell them like I said a bad word, and I didn't let my sister play on the Nintendo, and all these kind of little kid sins. I yelled at my mom when she told me to go to bed. Like those are things. I would think that Dave Aranda's thing was like, I didn't put all the spoons in the dishwasher.
In the right direction.
I went to bed 5 minutes late. It was, that kind of a deal.
It's another compliment, yet another player or coach at Baylor that others are looking at because, you know what? Bryles was that way, and then Rule was that way. And now, because of the success he's having, you're starting to see some smoke.
All right, here we go. Leaving. Number 2. Nebraska should keep Scott
I agree.
Frost.
You know what? I've changed my mind on this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yes. I have. It drives me to the point of not drinking. That they have late game meltdowns and mistakes. The Martinez fumble was gut-wrenching. They have gotten better. But they have to hire a special teams coach. They have to do something. I would stick with him because I think if you don't, that I think you set the program, which is already set back, you set it back another 5 or 6 years. They might get smoked by Minnesota this weekend. It's not very good this year. I just think you got to stay the course with him. I believe that they do.
And, yeah, I agree with you. I think that they're getting better incrementally.
They could have wins again. I know it means they lost. Michigan State's top 10. Michigan's top 10. I mean, they're right on the cusp of both of those games, but they somehow melt down in the worst of ways.
Yeah, which means I think they might need to get some of the old players out and then move on. Okay, number one, and this is thanks to Pete Thamel, but it was really true. Miami should assess where they are and not where they were.
No question.
Where are you right now? Not what you could be, not what you were. What are you now, and how do you get to where you want to be? Because they don't have an organizational flow chart that's working right there. And even though it's a private school and a small private school, and things are different now than they were back when Miami was doing well, they have potential to be really, really good, and they're just not doing it. And that means president, athletic director, coach, all the way down.
Like a spine. Like you want your spine aligned that way. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the De'Aaron King thing was a big blow. I mean, he's a really good player, and I think, having him would make a difference for them. But, unfortunate that he just happened to get banged up early on. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely still living off the glory days of the 80s and the 90s and even the early 2000s. I mean, still hear about that 0-1 Miami team. We always will hear about that 0-1 Miami team when the greats are talked about. But, it's been a lot of misses and fewer hits, since that time. I mean, that's 20 years ago. You know what I mean? So, they've had some successes here and there, but they've also not reached that mountaintop since that point. And
sometimes rock stars play arenas for a long, long time, and you're the Rolling Stones. Sometimes you're Eddie Money, and you play bars. Yeah, I mean, that's their Eddie Money right now.
Yeah, they're Eddie Money, and they need to realize that, the rock star lifestyle could still be there, or that type of fame, but, they need to go back to hit the restart button in a bit, because there's far too many guys that come into Miami now that think they're the U, that think that they are Michael Irvin from the 80s or Ray Lewis in the, I guess it would have been early 90s, 2000s, yeah. But they're not. They're not anywhere close to that. They have it in uniform and name only, and that's what's missing.
Think about the ACC with Miami and Florida State, two names, history. They're killing the conference. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, they are.
They really are.
In the football-rich state.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where the talent is in the ACC, where the high school talent is, and the two colleges that should be farming and growing it are.
But yeah, it's like, and I know we gotta go, but it was like Manny Diaz was hired, and the first thing he does is he goes out on the boat, and it's excess, and all that was fine and dandy, but it's not nearly as cool when you're not winning football games.
All right, Paul, good stuff. All the logos are part of Top 5. Armstrong, Sims, Jack McKenzie, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. Thank you, our sponsors who are amazing from day one, April 6, 2020, where we are now, and the growth from you who watch and listen on YouTube or listen on the app or online or where you do, and our partners who allow us to have this amazing studio to bring it to you every day. David Smoak, have a great night. Good night. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.